Chapter 1177. In the fifth floor of the Heart Moon Sect's treasury. Thaling's exclamation and encouragement made Yuhauran feel the blood in his body begin to boil slowly. At this moment, he wanted to step into the endless void with his own feet. At this moment, he wanted to personally discover the secrets hidden in the endless void and experience the adventure that most cultivators would never experience in their entire lives. "I'm happy to accompany you," Thaling, who was also filled with endless memories of the endless void, replied with a smile. He took out a wooden box, closed his eyes, and carefully put the interstellar transmission talisman into the wooden box by feeling. Then, he directly put it into the Victor and told Thaling to store it carefully. After opening his eyes, Yuhauran looked at the treasure placed on the fifth jade platform. It was a defensive armor that had reached the high grade of the Emperor realm. It could be used to upgrade the grade of the Ru-E-Bell. Yuhauran directly put it into the storage ring that was used to store magic tools. Then, he looked at the sixth jade platform. There were 3 light golden incense sticks that were about 20 centimeters long. He reached out and picked up one of the incense sticks. After sniffing it carefully, he couldn't help but frown slightly. Because the incense in his hand was colorless and odorless, it was impossible to distinguish its type. However, it was definitely a precious treasure that could be stored in the fifth floor of the treasury by the experts of the Heart Moon Sect. Yuhauran, this is the ambergris incense made from the dragon's saliva of the venerable realm giant dragon. Although it is colorless and odorless after burning, it can calm one's chi, eliminate one's inner demons, and improve one's state of mind. Thaling explained with a smile after scanning the incense sticks in Yuhauran's hand with his spiritual sense. If you light an ambergris incense at your wedding, then the guests who come to attend the wedding, who are below the 9th level of the martial saint realm, will at least have a breakthrough of 1 to 3 small realms in their state of mind. That's right. Since he wanted to give Qin Lingfei an unforgettable wedding, it would be too vulgar to only use a betrothal gift to shock everyone. With the combination of the 9th heaven cloud butterfly and the ambergris, the whole wedding would be elegant and vulgar, which would be worth remembering forever. Yuhauran happily put away the 3 sticks of ambergris, then turned his gaze to the 7th jade pedestal, which was also the last treasure on the 5th floor of the treasury. This was a jade slip. The jade slip recorded the Heart Moon Sect's 1,000-year-old mental cultivation method, which was only at the early stage of the Earth stage. After successfully creating the heavenly mandate mantra that could infinitely increase its grade, he didn't even care about ordinary heaven tier mantras, let alone the moon-chasing heart mantra that was only at the early stage of the Earth tier. Therefore, after Yuhauran picked up the jade slip with the mental cultivation method, he didn't put it into his storage ring or Victor. Instead, he held it tightly between his fingers. Then, he used his divine telekinesis to check the treasury again. After making sure that he had not missed anything, he turned around and left the treasury. Heart Moon Sect, in front of the mountain gate. Junior brother Yuan, it's not like you don't know Yuhauran's narrow-minded character. Why did you take the initiative to provoke him? After waiting for half an hour after Yuhauran entered the sect's treasury, a disciple who had also been severely injured by Yuhauran's fierce gaze criticized him. He was envious that junior brother Yuan could get the life-saving jade slip, but he was also worried that he would be implicated. Senior brother Qian, I took the risk to provoke Yu Shixiang in order to survive. Junior brother Yuan said with a worried expression as he used a thin thread to hang the life-saving jade slip in his underwear. After losing the sect master who is a martial sage, the sect master's wife and several elders who are martial emperors, the Heart Moon Sect will immediately become a fat piece of meat in the eyes of others. In the entire 100 Qi Gates sphere of influence, only Yuhauran has enough prestige and strength to protect us. I took the risk to betray the sect's interests just to save everyone's lives. Junior brother Yuan, although you have good intentions, have you ever thought about the consequences if Yuhauran is not satisfied with the secret you revealed? In the face of junior brother Yuan's good intentions, not only was senior brother Qian not grateful, but he also criticized him. I'm afraid that not only will you, Yuan Kai, be killed by Yu Haoran, but I, Qian Xingda, and these senior brothers and martial uncles in front of the sect will also be implicated by you. Senior brother Qian, what do you want to do? He clearly wanted to help everyone with good intentions, but in the end, he was misunderstood by the other party. This made Yuan Kai feel cold in his heart, and his face instantly turned gloomy as he asked. Kneel on the ground and commit suicide in front of the sect. I hope to resolve Yu Haoran's anger. Qian Xingda took a few steps back and winked at a few senior brothers who had reached the martial grandmaster realm. Qian Xingda, with Yu Shixiang's cultivation and temperament, even if I commit suicide in front of the sect, I'm sure he won't accept the life-saving jade slip he gave me. In the face of Qian Xingda's choice, Yuan Kai sneered and questioned. At that time, you can take away the life-saving jade slip and save your life in the great calamity of Heart Moon sect. No. After Yuan Kai guessed his thoughts, Qian Xingda's face changed. After feeling the senior brothers who were at the martial grandmaster realm behind him stop, he quickly retorted. If Yu Haoran doesn't take away the life-saving jade slip, then give the life-saving jade slip to the strongest martial uncle and let him protect the sect with the life-saving jade slip. Ha ha! In the face of Qian Xingda's explanation, Yuan Kai's eyes were filled with ridicule as he laughed loudly. The information you provided is very important. That stone is indeed of great help to me, Yu Haoran. Just as junior brother Yuan was laughing, Yu Haoran's gentle voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Yu Shixiang. Junior brother Yuan immediately stopped laughing and turned around to greet him. This is your Heart Moon Sect's inherited mental cultivation method martial skill, Heart Soul Moon Chasing. Take it as a reward for the important information you provided just now. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran handed the mental cultivation method jade slip he obtained from the 5th floor of the treasury to junior brother Yuan and said. Then, he turned his head and glanced at Qian Xingda and the others. A trace of disdain flashed in his eyes. Turning back, Yu Haoran looked at junior brother Yuan and continued. The door of the treasury has been smashed by me. I didn't touch most of the treasures inside. Now I'll give them all to you. Yu Shixiang, is this true? Junior brother Yuan asked in disbelief, as the blessing came too suddenly. That's right. After nodding his head to confirm, Yu Haoran ordered Black Bear, who had already returned and was hiding in the sky above the mountain gate. Black Bear, protect him and send him to a safe place after he takes the treasures in the treasury. Yes, master. Black Bear quickly landed in front of the mountain gate and responded. Yu Shixiang, thank you for your kindness. Not only did he give all the treasures in the treasury to him, but he also sent a pet beast to protect his safety. This made junior brother Yuan so touched that he immediately knelt down to thank him. However, before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by Yu Haoran, who directly rose into the air and left the mountain gate in an instant. Chapter 1178. The 100 Qi Gate, Qinyun Peak. Floating above Qinyun Peak, Yu Haoran looked down at the familiar courtyard and scenery. A complicated look appeared in his eyes. Actually, as his mental state cultivation reached the martial honorable realm, he had already chosen to forgive what had happened in Qingyuan Hall. As for Chu Zhongyu and the others, he no longer had any resentment in his heart. The reason why he had not returned to Qinyun Peak was not only because he had many things to do, but also because he realized that he was no longer on the same level as Chu Zhongyu and the others. To be more precise, Chu Zhongyu and the others had completely fallen behind. Back then, he had done his best to help Chu Zhongyu and the others improve their cultivation, and he had done his best to rope in the Gongsun siblings to join Qinyun Peak. He wanted to repay the kindness from his previous life, and he also wanted to have a group of trustworthy friends and brothers who could help him on his journey to the peak of martial arts. However, after more than a year of experience, he realized that talent, potential, comprehension, and perseverance were only a small part of a martial artist's rapid growth. The conditions that really determined whether a martial artist could quickly reach the peak of martial arts were mental state and physique. Among the 10 disciples of Qingyun Peak, only Wu Xingjun could fulfill these conditions. Although he had been separated from Wu Xingjun for a long time, he and Qin Tianzi had a special communication method that allowed them to know about Wu Xingjun's situation at all times. The cruel battlefield seemed to have completely awakened his bloodthirsty physique. The bloody slaughter had even stimulated his natural killing instinct. In just a year, Wu Xingjun had not only activated his bloodthirsty physique to the limit, but also had the ability to advance to the bloodthirsty physique. His cultivation had also reached the peak of the 9th grade martial royal realm. As for the 8th senior brother Lin Xian, who had entered the battlefield with Wu Xingjun and undergone the same training, his cultivation had just reached the martial king realm. He was not even qualified to participate in the southern region hidden dragon rankings. From this point alone, one could see the importance of mental state and physique. As for Gongsun Yuding, who possessed the immortal bone physique, although her cultivation progress was very fast, she lacked bloody experience, so she did not have the ability to follow him to battle on the martial path. However, if she were to leave Qingyun Peak and choose to train alone, coupled with the 9 heavens profound heart technique that he had taught her, perhaps she would be able to catch up with Wu Xingjun very quickly. After all, the combination of the 9 heavens mystic heart sutra and the immortal bone had already allowed her to stand at a very high starting point. 9th senior brother, are you back? Just as Yu Haoran was considering whether or not to interfere with Gongsun Yuding's future cultivation, a timid voice sounded in his ear. Yu Haoran lowered his head and glanced at Gongsun Yuding, who had appeared in front of Hidden Moon Pavilion. He slowly landed in front of her. Junior sister. With a faint smile on his face, Yu Haoran called out gently. 9th senior brother, it's really you. Ever since that scene in Qingyuan Hall, Yu Haoran had not only gradually distanced himself from the relationship between him and his junior sister, but he also no longer had a smile on his face. At this moment, seeing that his face had regained its usual gentle smile, Gongsun Yuding was so excited that she didn't know what to say. At this moment, she only wanted to tell this joyous news to everyone. Thus, she directly turned and ran towards Chu Zhongyu's side courtyard, then loudly shouted, 9th senior brother is back! 9th senior brother is back! Seeing that Gongsun Yuding had lost control of her emotions, Yu Haoran lightly smiled and shook his head. He then turned his head to look at Hidden Moon Pavilion, where he had lived in both his previous and current lives. He pushed open the courtyard door and walked in. Looking at the spotless courtyard, he knew that during the time he had been away, his senior brothers and the Gongsun siblings had been taking care of Hidden Moon Pavilion. Walking into the pavilion, Yu Haoran couldn't help but fall into deep thought as he looked at the smooth and clean stone chairs and tables. After marrying Qin Lingfei, he would have to participate in the Hidden Dragon ranking competition between the southern and 5 regions. Regardless of the final result of the competition, he had enough confidence to advance to the realm of martial honor. After becoming a martial honor, he would have to head to the northern and southern regions to find the ingredients to refine the 9 tribulations pill. If the 9 tribulations pill was successfully refined and he didn't have any worldly matters to attend to, he would use the galaxy teleportation talisman to leave the Tianxian continent and head to the endless void to train. He might not even be able to return to Clear Wind Peak in a few decades or a few centuries. He might not even be able to see his senior brothers and junior sister Gongsun again. Thinking of this, Yu Haoran suddenly had an impulse. He wanted to do something for his senior brothers and the Gongsun siblings before he left. Whether it was high-quality spirit stones or high-grade pills, they all required a certain level of cultivation to be used. With the cultivation and state of mind of his senior brothers, if he gave them too many high-quality spirit stones and pills, not only would it not help them, but it would also harm them. Moreover, if he gave them too many spirit stones and pills, it would gradually make them lazy and drag down their cultivation. After thinking about it, Yuhauran finally decided to change the environment of Clear Cloud Peak. He would personally turn Clear Cloud Peak into a paradise, which could be considered as fulfilling one of his wishes before he left Clear Cloud Peak. Yuhauran walked out of the pavilion and nodded to Chu Zhongyu and the others who had already gathered in Hidden Moon Pavilion. Then, he rose into the air and stood in the sky above Clear Cloud Peak. "Brother Ran, lend me a hand." Yuhauran's second clone, who was cultivating in the victor, signaled for it to guide him in setting up a formation that could gather heaven and earth spiritual qi. "Brother Yu, if you want to completely transform the entire peak into a paradise, you'll need at least 9 7th-grade spirit veins or 18 8th-grade spirit veins." Hearing that Yuhauran wanted to turn Clear Cloud Peak into a paradise, the second clone first used his divine sense to measure the area of Clear Cloud Peak. Then, using the formation to gather heaven and earth spiritual qi, he calculated the number of spirit veins needed. "Brother Ran, as for the treasure to suppress the formation, I plan to use a 6th-grade spirit vein." Nodding, Yuhauran gave his idea. "If you use a 6th-grade spirit vein and 9 7th-grade spirit veins, then the heaven and earth spiritual qi in Clear Cloud Peak will be 10 times denser than in the Holy Poison Cult's Sealed Moon Pavilion." After carefully calculating the final effect of the spirit-gathering formation given by the second clone, Yuhauran glanced at the puzzled Chu Zhongyu and the others, and sighed with a complicated expression. "Brother Ran, let's turn Clear Cloud Peak into a paradise that won't lose to a first-rate sect. Consider it the last thing we can do for Master and Senior Brother before we leave." "Okay." Nodding, the second clone began to guide the arrangement of the spirit-gathering formation. It was different from the spirit-gathering formation set up in the Holy Poison Cult's Sealed Moon Pavilion. Due to the limited size and location of the Sealed Moon Pavilion, they could only use a disc that could gather heaven and earth spiritual qi as the core to set up the formation. Chapter 1179. Qingyun Peak, the Sky Above. Taking a deep breath, Yuhauran took out the 9 sealed rank 7 spirit veins from his storage ring and removed the seal. Roar! Accompanied by 9 deafening dragon roars, the 9 spirit veins that broke free from the seal turned into 9 giant white dragons that were more than 3,000 meters long. Instinctively knowing that they would still face the fate of being sealed, the 9 giant dragons that broke free from the seal roared and planned to escape into the depths of the mountain. "Want to run? Dream on!" Yuhauran roared as he watched the 9 spirit veins roaring as they fled into the depths of the mountain range. Then, he mobilized his origin energy and soul power to form 2 gigantic palms that blotted out the sky. He quickly grabbed at the 9 spirit vein dragons. Whether it was the dragon roars or the white dragons that returned to their original length, it instantly alarmed everyone in the 100 Qi Gate. Lai Yan, who had replaced Chu Zhongyu as the new gate master of the 100 Qi Gate, immediately left his place of cultivation after hearing the deafening dragon roars and looked in the direction of Qingyun Peak. When he saw the 9 giant white dragons that were more than 3,000 meters long, his eyes immediately revealed a look of horror. Because with his vision and experience, it was impossible for him to distinguish that the 9 giant white dragons that were more than 3,000 meters long were actually the spirit veins that were no threat at all. Looking at the 9 giant white dragons that were roaring at the sky, Lai Yan instinctively thought that they might have come from the depths of the mountain and that their purpose was to destroy the 100 Qi Gate. Therefore, he did not consider informing anyone at all and planned to escape the 100 Qi Gate immediately. But just as he mobilized his spirit energy and soul power and planned to escape the gate, he heard a familiar roar. Lai Yan immediately moved his gaze and saw a young man in blue clothes. So he's back. After seeing the familiar figure, the fear caused by the giant dragons immediately disappeared. Lai Yin then tidied his clothes and soared into the sky, intending to meet Yu Haoran personally. In a hidden secret in the law enforcement peak. Looking at the completely unconscious Ouyang Haoyu, Gao Luanping's eyes revealed an uncontrollable joy. After nearly 10 years of planning and spending endless effort, he could finally get what he wanted today. Haoyu, please don't blame Master for being ruthless. Because the moment you decided to acknowledge me as your master, your future was already decided. Gao Lianping lifted the fainted Ouyang Haoyu and assumed a posture of cultivation with her palms facing up. Looking at the handsome face in front of her, Gao Lianping said happily, "At the same time, don't feel wronged." Over the past few years, under Master's indulgence, you have also enjoyed the treatment that thousands of disciples in the law enforcement peak are unable to obtain. Even if I die now, it will be worth it. After comforting the unconscious Ouyang Haoyu, Gao Luanping withdrew the smile on his face and took a deep breath. Just as he was about to use the Devil Path secret technique, a deafening dragon roar suddenly resounded in his ears. Ever since something happened in the depths of the mountain range a year ago, there are no longer any rank 5 Emperor Realm beasts in the mountain range where the sect is located. After hearing the deafening roar, Gao Luanping couldn't help but frown and mutter to himself. Then, where did the beast roar that clearly surpassed the 5th rank of the Monarch Realm come from? In order to display the demonic path's secret arts and complete the fusion of the divine soul, one needed an absolutely quiet environment. Faced with the disturbance of a beast that clearly surpassed the 5th rank of the Monarch Realm, it was no longer suitable for him to continue using the demonic path's secret arts. Therefore, after helping Ouyang Haoyu consume another medicinal pill that would allow him to continue sleeping, Gao Luanping got up and left the secret room. Immediately after, he was startled by the 9 white dragons that suddenly appeared in the sky above Qinyun Peak like a raging inferno. Just as he instinctively wanted to return to the secret room and escape the 100 Qi Gate with Ouyang Haoyu, he was also attracted by the familiar roar. After seeing the familiar figure, Gao Luanping's eyes revealed a look of hatred. According to his plan, after using the demonic path's secret arts to replace Ouyang Haoyu, he would completely leave the 100 Qi Gate and join the expedition to the east led by Meng Yun. With his cultivation as a martial saint, he would earn enough military merits to complete the regrets he had left behind. However, he never expected that Meng Yun, who could help him rise to the top and make up for the regrets in his heart, would actually be killed by Yu Haoran. This completely disrupted the plan he had been planning for nearly 10 years. However, when he thought about the news he had received from the spies in Xianyang City, he knew that Yu Haoran had now grown into an existence that he could not afford to provoke. Therefore, Gao Lianping, who had forcefully suppressed the hatred in his heart, rose into the air and flew towards Qinyun Peak with a smile on his face. The Palace of Contributions. Kong Yong'ao lay motionless on the bed. Tears hung from the corners of her eyes as she stared at the palace master of the Palace of Contributions. Her eyes were filled with a thick sense of hatred. "My good disciple, don't view your master with such hatred." Faced with Kong Yong'a's hate-filled eyes, the palace master of the Palace of Contributions spoke with a complacent look on his face. "Because even though I'm still your master now, once you become a real woman, I'll be your man." As she watched the palace master approach her, Kong Yong'a closed her eyes and screamed in her heart, "Yu Shixiang, come and save me." Just as the palace master of the Palace of Contributions walked to the bedside and reached out his hand to undo Kong Yong'a's clothes, the deafening roar of a dragon suddenly sounded in his ears. Why would a real dragon descend to the remote 100 Qi Gate? After hearing the pure roar of a dragon, the palace master of the Palace of Contributions' expression changed slightly as he muttered to himself in a grave tone. Glancing at Kong Yong'a, who was also attracted by the roar of a dragon and had opened her eyes, the palace master of the Palace of Contributions reached out his hand to caress her face and said gently, "Be good and wait for your master." I'll be there in a moment. Then, the palace master of the Palace of Contributions stepped out of the room and appeared in the courtyard. This is a huge dragon transformed from a rank 7 spiritual vein. When he saw the 9 huge white dragons appear in the sky above Chinyan Peak, the palace master of the Palace of Contributions muttered to himself in astonishment. Then, his gaze turned towards the figure that he had never met before but had heard of countless times. You Howren, even though I don't want to meet you now, with your current reputation and status, if I want to continue staying in the 100 Chi Gate, I have no choice but to meet you. After sighing helplessly, the palace master of the Palace of Contributions took a deep breath and a warm smile appeared on his face. He then soared into the sky and headed straight for Chinyan Peak. Even though he did not use his full strength, he had mobilized a total of 70% of his origin power and soul power to form a huge palm. Its power was at the level of a first tribulation quasi-martial honorable. Faced with such a powerful attack, the huge dragon transformed from the 9 spiritual veins actually shattered the huge palm. Just as Yu Howren wanted to mobilize even more power to capture the 9 spiritual vein huge dragons, his divine sense unexpectedly sensed a few people rushing over. A thought suddenly flashed through his mind. Chapter 1180. In the sky above Chinyan Peak, Lai Yin, Gao Luanping, the hall master of the Merit Hall, and the elders of the Senior Statesman's Peak were quickly approaching Chinyan Peak. When they saw Yu Howren quickly transform into a towering 2,000 meters tall giant, their smiles were instantly replaced by shock. Seeing Yu Howren transform into a 2,000-meter tall giant, Lai Yin secretly decided, although I am now the gate master of the 100 Chi Gate, all important matters of the sect will still be decided by Chinyan Peak in the future. With Yu Howren's existence, the 100 Chi Gate and the Emperor Qin Empire are not places to stay for long. It seems that I need to start the second plan and hurry to the Yushu Temple to meet up with Zhao Ji. Seeing Yu Howren transform into a 2,000-meter tall giant, Gao Luanping clenched his fists tightly in his sleeves and secretly decided in his heart. It seems that I need to start the plan of seizing the treasure in advance and leave the 100 Chi Gate as soon as possible. Otherwise, the situation may change at any time. Similarly, seeing Yu Howren transform into the body of the ancestral sorcerer, the hall master of the Merit Hall secretly decided. Little guy, come back to me obediently. Feeling the 9 spirit vein dragons in his hands begin to struggle with all their might, Yu Howren said with a chuckle as he clenched his fists tightly. Seeing Yu Howren successfully capture the 9 spirit veins, the second clone immediately ordered, Brother Yu, according to the layout of the 9 palaces' 8 trigrams formation, seal the 9 spirit veins into the positions of the 9 palaces. Using the sky-covering giant palms, he forcibly slapped the 9 spirit veins into Chinyan Peak. Then, according to the actions of the second clone in his knowledge sea, he began to use his newly created sealing technique. When the 9 spirit veins attempted to escape from the peak, he directly sealed them in the peak. Brother Yu, take out the rank 6 spirit vein. After completely sealing the 9 spirit veins, the second clone immediately ordered. He quickly took out a rank 6 spirit vein and removed the seal on it. Brother Yu, use Hidden Moon Pavilion as the formation point and use the same method to seal the rank 6 spirit vein under Hidden Moon Pavilion's pavilion. The second clone hurriedly instructed the moment the talisman was removed. He directly grabbed the giant dragon that had transformed into a 5,000-meter-long spirit vein. Before it could even struggle to escape, he slapped it into the pavilion of the Hidden Moon Pavilion. Then, he used a sealing technique to completely seal the rank 6 spirit vein. Take out 48 Tier 4 Grade 1 spirit stones and 1 Tier 4 Grade 9 spirit stone, the clone continued to instruct. After quickly taking out 49 spirit stones, Yu Howren didn't need his clone's instructions. He put 48 4th grade spirit stones into the 9 7th grade spirit veins. Then, using the 4th grade 9th grade spirit stones as a guide, He activated the 6th grade spirit vein sealed under the hidden moon pavilion. Boom! When the 4th stage 9th grade spirit stone floating in the hidden moon pavilion exploded, the sound of thunder suddenly came from the sky above Clear Cloud Peak. Accompanied by the sound of thunder, countless drops of pure spiritual liquid fell like a drizzle. This is the liquefied form of the spiritual chi of heaven and earth when it reaches a certain limit. When the raindrops fell from the sky and hit his face and quickly entered his body, Chu Zhongyu couldn't help but shout excitedly, "Senior brothers, I'm about to break through!" After hearing Chu Zhongyu's excited reminder, Gong Sun Yiming opened his mouth and swallowed a few mouthfuls of the spiritual liquid. The pure spiritual energy contained in the spiritual liquid had pushed him to the brink of breaking through. He immediately began to forcefully break through uncontrollably. Isn't this the method of the legendary immortals? Seeing the pure spiritual liquid continuously dripping from the sky above Clear Cloud Peak, Lai Yen, Gao Luanping, and the other elders muttered to themselves. Their eyes were filled with deep envy. If they could cultivate in such a paradise, the peak of the 9th grade Martial King realm would be just around the corner. Reaching the Martial Saint realm would no longer be a dream. It seems that we need to inform the palace master to get rid of Yu Haoran as soon as possible. Otherwise, he will definitely become a thorn in the side of the Yushu temple in the future. In addition to being shocked, a strong murderous intent emerged in the hall master of the Merit Palace. The purity of the spiritual chi is nearly 15 times denser than that of the Inue Pavilion of the Holy Poison sect. After reaching out and catching a drop of spiritual liquid, Yu Haoran said to his second doppelganger with great satisfaction after absorbing it, "That's not right." After hearing Yu Haoran's evaluation, his second doppelganger immediately used his divine sense to absorb a drop of spiritual liquid. After carefully examining it, he frowned and said, "The spirit-gathering formation I just set up is barely of the earth rank. The spiritual liquid that can be formed from 10 spirit veins definitely can't reach this level. What's going on?" Second doppelganger, this is the result of the heaven-measuring ruler, the hidden treasure of the 100 Chi Gate. Just as his second doppelganger was wondering why the power of the formation he had set up had inexplicably increased, Thaling, who had suddenly left the victor, spoke with a solemn expression. Yu Haoran signaled his second doppelganger to return to the victor to continue cultivating. He asked in confusion, "Thaling, hasn't the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler been forcefully extracting the spiritual chi in this mountain range to suppress the backlash from the poison in its body? Why is it feeding the spiritual chi of Qingyun Peak?" "Because the poison in the heaven-measuring ruler's body has completely disappeared, and the weapon spirit is about to awaken," Thaling explained with a gloomy expression. "Thaling, this is good news," Yu Haoran said excitedly, not noticing Thaling's gloomy expression. "With your deep relationship with the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler, you will definitely be able to persuade it to follow me. If we have the help of the ultimate Emperor Realm weapon, the heaven-measuring ruler, then after the Hidden Dragon ranking competition is over, we can go to the forbidden area of the Death Swamp to fight for the fairy wood vine that contains the wood origin. Yu Haoran, I don't know if you remember when we first found the heaven-measuring ruler, I told you the result of awakening the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler," Thaling reminded him with a gloomy expression in the face of Yu Haoran's overly excited expression. "Of course I remember." Nodding, Yu Haoran thought for a moment and then said, "With your deep relationship with the heaven-measuring ruler, as long as I can remove the poison in the heaven-measuring ruler's body and awaken the sleeping weapon spirit, there is a great chance of obtaining." Speaking of this, Yu Haoran suddenly stopped talking, and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. "Thaling, can you find out who removed the poison in the heaven-measuring ruler?" Yu Haoran asked with a gloomy expression after his mind sense condensed into a body and entered the sea of consciousness. Shaking his head, Thaling explained. "The weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler, that is about to awaken has the strength of Emperor Wu at the peak of the 9th level. In my current state, I dare not easily use my divine thought to check, lest it discover my existence. In this regard, Yu Haoran nodded to express his understanding. Chapter 1181. In the sky above Qinyun Peak. After his mind returned to his body, Yu Haoran didn't immediately open his eyes. Instead, he carefully thought about how to find the culprit behind the heaven-measuring ruler's poison. Martial nephew Yu, I haven't seen you for a long time. I didn't expect your strength to be comparable to an immortal. Seeing Yu Haoran quietly floating in the air without opening his eyes for a long time, Gao Luanping, who had a good relationship with Yu Haoran and felt a little impatient in his heart, greeted him with a smile. He took the initiative to greet him. First, he wanted to carefully feel the changes in Qinyun Peak. In the future, when his strength and status reached a certain height, he would also create an identical paradise for himself. Secondly, the pressure that Yu Haoran gave him was simply too great. Fearing that something unexpected would happen, he only wanted to exchange pleasantries with Ouyang Haoyu as soon as possible and immediately return to the secret room to use the Devil Dao's secret technique to complete the switch between him and Ouyang Haoyu. Then, he would quietly leave the 100-Foot sect and the Great Qin Empire's sphere of influence. After hearing Gao Luanping's greeting, Yu Haoran suddenly remembered his identity as the Peak Lord of the Law Enforcement Peak. An idea immediately flashed through his mind. Martial Uncle Gao, you flatter me. The changes in Qinyun Peak are just a simple transformation using the combination of formations and spirit veins. How could I dare to call it an immortal's method? After smiling modestly, Yu Haoran immediately put away the smile on his face. Just as he was about to discuss with Gao Luanping about borrowing the power of the law enforcement peak to investigate some things for him, he unexpectedly saw a familiar person. A person who had chased him for nearly 3 years in his previous life and was later ruthlessly tortured to death by him using poison. Martial Uncle Gao, who is this person? Pointing at the middle-aged man standing to the right of Lai Yan, Yu Haoran's eyes gradually revealed a trace of a thoughtful expression. Martial nephew Yu, don't you know the new hall master of the Merit Hall? Seeing that the middle-aged man Yu Haoran pointed at was the hall master of the Merit Hall who had been in office for more than a year, Gao Luanping said with a face of surprise. Hall Master Lu of the Merit Hall. Yu Haoran nodded with a smile on his face again. He walked toward Palace Master Lu and said with a smile. Not only do I know him, but I'm very familiar with him. Looking at Yu Haoran who was walking towards him, Lu Shanxin, the hall master of the Merit Hall, took a deep breath. A warm smile also appeared on his face as he went up to him. However, Yu Haoran's next sentence froze the smile on his face. Lu Shanxin, I wonder how the master of the underground palace is doing? Martial nephew Yu, what do you mean? Lu Shanxin nervously asked as he clenched his fists in his sleeves. It is said that the master of the Yushu Temple's underground palace had once secretly nurtured 28 experts who grasped different auxiliary cultivation systems based on the 28 constellation seats from the black market auction of Mount Xuanyu. Then, he placed them in different sects and family forces. Faced with Lu Shanxin's question, Yu Haoran stopped and said with a smile on his face. Among them, the one that the master of the underground palace trusts the most is the Heart Moon Fox, who is known for her scheming and poison cultivation. Lu Shanxin's expression changed slightly before returning to normal in an instant. He had a puzzled look on his face. Martial nephew Yu, I don't know what you're talking about. Heart Moon Fox Lu Shanxin, your methods may be able to deceive everyone in the 100 Qi Gate, including my master Feng Qinyun. However, don't even think about deceiving me, Yu Haoran. Seeing that Lu Shanxin was still pretending to be crazy and refusing to admit his true identity, Yu Haoran put away the smile on his face and said with a sinister expression. Lu Shanxin, not only do I know your true origin, but I also know your true purpose of hiding in the 100 Qi gate. Is that so? Lu Shanshin's eyes were filled with a hint of mockery as he began to secretly unseal the seal with his 10 fingers in his sleeves. In that case, this Hall Master would like to hear it. Thaling, can you perform the possession technique? I want to use the power of the law of time scars to see how Lu Shanshin detoxifies the poison in the sky measuring ruler. Only by revealing Lu Shanshin's true purpose of hiding in the 100 Qi gate would they directly shed all pretense of cordiality, and the only thing left would be to fight to the death. With his current strength and means, it would not be difficult for him to kill Lu Shanshin. However, he wanted to know how the Yushu Temple knew about the existence of the sky measuring ruler and how they detoxified the poison that even he, who was proficient in poison cultivation, could not detoxify. After hearing Yu Haoran's request, Thaling first took a risk to use his divine thoughts to check the 100 Qi peak. After confirming that the device spirit of the sky measuring ruler had not really awakened, he nodded in agreement and exhorted. Yu Haoran, the moment the possession technique is performed, immediately use the law of time scars. Got it. Yu Haoran nodded to show that he understood. Then, he looked up at Lu Shanshin and said with a hint of sarcasm in his eyes, Lu Shanshin, your real purpose is to steal the sky measuring ruler of the 100 Qi gate, the sky measuring ruler that has reached the peak of the supreme grade martial emperor realm. When Yu Haoran pointed out that the 100 Qi gate actually had a peak of the supreme grade martial emperor realm magic weapon, Lai Yan, Gao Wanping, and the other elders could not help but look at each other and see the shock and doubt in each other's eyes. Boy, it seems that we have all underestimated you. Lu Shanshin's face flashed with surprise, but soon the surprise was replaced by a gloomy look. Lu Shanshin's body shook slightly. Originally, he was only at the peak of the 3rd grade martial emperor realm, but his aura soon broke through the martial saint realm and finally stopped at the peak of the 9th grade martial saint realm. Lu Shanshin, with the Yushu Temple's spies all over the Tianxian continent, you should know the strength that I, Yu Haoran, showed when I left the Twin Bull Mountain. Seeing that Lu Shanshin, who was only at the peak of the 9th grade martial saint realm, was so confident, Yu Haoran was a little confused and reminded him. That's right. While nodding to confirm Yu Haoran's strength, Lu Shanshin waved in the direction of the 100 Qi gate. Then, the whole 100 Qi peak suddenly shook violently. Then, he said to Yu Haoran with a proud face, What if I have the help of this magic weapon? Accompanied by the violent shaking of the peak, countless dust flew in all directions, and a large number of boulders rolled down. Fortunately, when he forced Zhao Ji to betray the sect, in order to prevent the existence of the sky measuring ruler from being exposed, he had driven away all the disciples of Zhao Ji's faction in advance. There were no living creatures on the 100 Qi peak, so there were no casualties. Chapter 1182. Above Qingyun Peak. Humph! Yu Haoran could not help but snort when he saw the terrifying aura pressing down on him, trying to force him to land on the top of Qingyun Peak and kneel down. Then, when he was about to use the secret method of overdrawing the bloodline of the ancestral wizard to increase his strength against the terrifying aura, Thaling suddenly sighed and said in his mind, Yu Haoran, let me do it! Thaling, aren't you afraid of being exposed? Yu Haoran asked in confusion. We have to face it sooner or later, so it's better to face it now, Thaling said with a hint of understanding as he looked at the sky measuring ruler slowly revealing its body. Have you thought it through? Yu Haoran asked with a slight tremble in his heart. The Xian Yuan sword has chosen its master, and the yellow saber is about to devour its master. How can I, Thaling, not protect my master? Thaling said domineeringly as his understanding was replaced by a firm look. I'll leave everything to you. Seeing that Thaling had finally gotten rid of his reincarnation and had been cautious, Yu Haoran handed over control of his body with a smile. After taking control of his body in an instant, a powerful aura that surpassed the martial venerable realm directly shattered the terrifying aura. Thaling looked coldly at Lu Shanshin. The sudden change in Yu Haoran's aura and momentum made Lu Shanshin's face change. He immediately turned and flew toward the sky-measuring ruler. The pagoda spirit did not stop him. Instead, it walked slowly to the heaven-measuring ruler despite the terrifying aura it emitted. Little ruler, since you've already woken up, why are you still pretending to be asleep in front of me? Thaling stopped 100 meters away from the sky-measuring ruler and sneered sarcastically. Junior sky-measuring ruler greets Senior Thaling. Faced with Thaling's sarcasm, the sky-measuring ruler slowly withdrew its terrifying aura and quickly shrank its body, which was nearly 10,000 meters long, to finally become a white jade ruler about 1.5 meters long. Above the white jade ruler, an old man in a white robe, who looked to be in his 70s and had a benevolent countenance, slowly condensed. Looking at Yu Haoran, who had a sneer on his face, the old man said respectfully. Lu Shanshin, who was floating beside the sky-measuring ruler, looked extremely shocked. This was because he had not expected that the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler, which had reached the peak of the supreme Great Emperor realm and possessed the power to destroy the world, would be so respectful towards Yu Haoran. However, from the way Yu Haoran addressed him, Lu Shanshin vaguely guessed a possibility. It was the secret that allowed Yu Haoran to make progress in martial arts and all kinds of auxiliary cultivation methods in such a short time. Thinking of this, the shock in Lu Shanshin's heart was replaced by joy. Looking at the body temporarily controlled by Thaling, his eyes revealed a look of greed. Little ruler, more than a year ago, after I found out that your original body, the heaven-measuring ruler, was being corroded by poison, I have been thinking of a way to neutralize the poison. Seeing that the weapon spirit's attitude was as respectful as before, Thaling explained gently. But what I didn't expect was that someone had actually neutralized the poison in your original body one step ahead of me. Senior, thank you for always thinking of me. Hearing Thaling's explanation, the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler withdrew his respectful expression and thanked him indifferently. Although it had been in a deep sleep, the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler, as an existence that had almost broken through to the divine artifact level, had actually sensed Thaling's aura long ago and had taken the risk of separating a trace of divine thought to secretly pay attention to Thaling's every move. For more than a year, Thaling had been doing his best to help the human he had possessed. He had never really thought about how to neutralize the threat of the poison for himself, which made the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler very sad and disappointed. This was also the real reason why he had used his terrifying momentum to force Yu Haoran to kneel down and pretended to be in a deep sleep, unwilling to face Thaling directly. After the respectful indifference, Thaling could vaguely guess the thoughts of the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler. In this regard, he neither cared nor had any intention of explaining. He just raised his hand and pointed at Lu Shanshin, and asked with the same indifferent attitude. Shao Qi, if I kill him, will you stop me? Senior, when my original body was attacked by the poison, I, Shao Qi, once swore that I would recognize whoever could neutralize the threat of the poison as my master. Although the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler did not directly answer Thaling's question, through the oath of recognition, it had already expressed its attitude that it would definitely stop him. Shao Qi, although you now maintain the strength of the peak of the 9th stage of the Emperor realm, and my strength has been reduced to the 3rd stage of the Emperor Wu realm, do you believe that I can still defeat and even destroy your original body? In the face of the indirect declaration of the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler, Thaling slowly mobilized the power of the original body of the victor, and coldly threatened. Senior, as you have existed since the beginning of the world, Shao Qi believes that I am no match for you. Nodding in agreement with Thaling's threat, the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler did not show the slightest panic as it spoke. But if I take him away, I am afraid that you will not be able to keep Shao Qi. Taking a step forward, Thaling reminded with a cold smile. Shao-Chi, could it be that you've forgotten my other identity? After hearing Thaling's reminder, the weapon spirit of the heaven measuring ruler's face changed slightly. It immediately returned to its original body of nearly 10,000 meters, and then fiercely slammed into the void. Boom! Accompanied by a deafening roar, the heaven measuring ruler was directly forced back to its original place by the invisible void, and the weapon spirit that had integrated into the original body was also forced to leave the original body because of the strong shock. Thaling, how dare you use the original body of the victor to seal the void? The weapon spirit of the heaven measuring ruler pointed angrily. Shao-Chi, it seems that you have changed. Now you are no longer as kind and benevolent as before, only tyrannical and arrogant. Hearing the weapon spirit of the heaven measuring ruler directly call his name, Thaling could not help but comment with disappointment. Whether in the past or now, kindness and benevolence will always be hurt. Only ruthlessness is the real way to survive. After refuting Thaling's comment, the weapon spirit of the heaven measuring ruler threatened fiercely. Thaling, for the sake of our previous friendship, immediately release the seal of the void. Otherwise, I can also make you fall into a deep sleep again. Shao-Chi, you can leave. Pointing at Lu Shanshin, whose face was sometimes gloomy and sometimes complacent, Thaling said. But he must stay. Thaling, don't force me. Otherwise, don't blame me for not taking into account our previous friendship. The weapon spirit that had integrated back into the original body, while activating the strength of the peak of the martial emperor realm, threatened with murderous intent. In the sea of consciousness, when he heard that the weapon spirit of the heaven measuring ruler had the ability to make Thaling fall into a deep sleep again, Yuhauran could not help but change his expression. Chapter 1183. 100 Chi Gate. He summoned the second doppelganger that was cultivating in the victor. His own consciousness temporarily took control of the second doppelganger's body and directly entered the victor. Then, Yuhauran took out 36 poisonous herbs from the storage ring and the victor. He then used the elixir condensation technique to quickly refine 9 poisonous pills. After returning control of the body to the second doppelganger, Yuhauran reminded Thaling. Thaling, you don't need to use the power of the victor. You just need to integrate this poisonous pill into the body of the sky-measuring ruler, and it will fall into a deep sleep again. Yuhauran, will it hurt the device spirit of the sky-measuring ruler? Thaling asked worriedly. After getting along with him for nearly 2 years, Thaling had seen Yuhauran's extraordinary means of poison. He also knew very well how powerful the poisonous pills refined by him were. Although the aggressive attitude of the device spirit of the sky-measuring ruler was too irritating, Thaling did not really want to hurt the device spirit of the sky-measuring ruler due to their tens of thousands of years of history and his own wrongdoings. Thaling, don't worry. Since I refined the poisonous pill myself, I have a way to detoxify it. I guarantee that the device spirit of the sky-measuring ruler will not be harmed in any way, Yuhauran assured him. Okay. After receiving Yuhauran's assurance, Thaling quietly took the poisonous pill. He directly mobilized 1% of the power of the victor and took a step forward. It seemed like a casual step, but it allowed him to cross the barrier of time and space and directly appear in front of the sky-measuring ruler. He shattered the poisonous pill with the power of his divine soul and gently slapped it into the body of the sky-measuring ruler. Thaling, you forced me to do this. Although Thaling's gentle slap did not hurt the device spirit at all, in the eyes of the device spirit of the sky-measuring ruler, he was obviously humiliating and showing off. He was humiliating himself to be as vulnerable as before, to show off his Thaling's omnipotence and power. Therefore, after the weapon spirit of the heaven-measuring ruler roared, it quickly fused into its body and began to activate all of the ruler's power. When the power of the heaven measuring ruler caused the void around the 100 chi gate to tear apart, the originally upright heaven measuring ruler suddenly collapsed and directly smashed towards the Thaling gate. At the same time, a soft shout came from the heaven measuring ruler. So close, yet so far. Little Chi, you're crazy. You're actually using the power of a law martial technique. When Thaling saw that the artifact spirit had used the full power of the heaven measuring ruler to display the law martial technique that he had only barely mastered after personally teaching the artifact spirit, he could not help but yell angrily. Since he didn't know when Yuhauran's poison pill would take effect, and he was well aware of the terrifying power of so close, yet worlds apart, Thaling could only mobilize more of his victor's power, intending to use an even stronger law martial technique. However, just as the heaven measuring ruler, which contained the law martial technique, was about to smash Thaling's head, a muffled sound of pain suddenly came from the inside of the heaven measuring ruler. Along with the sound of pain, the terrifying power of the heaven measuring ruler was quickly withdrawn. Thaling, you poison me! After the artifact spirit used the power withdrawn from its body to temporarily suppress the invasion of the poison, the artifact spirit accused Thaling angrily. Little Chi, listen to me, Thaling wanted to tell the artifact spirit about his good intentions of using the poison, but he was interrupted by the artifact spirit's next move. Benefactor, please help me remove the poison in my body, and then I'll use the law martial technique to send you out of here. Okay. After speculating the true secret of Yuhauran's power, Lu Shanshin was no longer as nervous as before about whether the artifact spirit of the heaven measuring ruler was dead or alive. However, based on the artifact spirit's action of using its body to attack the void, he knew that the space to leave the 100 chi gate had been sealed by the artifact spirit that controlled Yuhauran's body. If he wanted to successfully transmit Yuhauran's secret back to the Yushu Temple, he had to rely on the artifact spirit of the heaven measuring ruler. Therefore, after hearing the artifact spirit's request for help, Lu Shanshin instantly appeared beside the heaven measuring ruler and used his divine thoughts to analyze the structure of the poison. Yuhauran, it seems that Lu is also a poison expert. He can't remove the poison you refined, can he? Thaling asked worriedly when he saw the confident smile on Lu Shanshin's face as he inspected the poison in the heaven measuring ruler. Pagoda spirit, unless it's the poison emperor who has broken through to the emperor realm in the poison Tao, no one in the entire Tianqian continent will be able to remove the poison pills I have refined. Yuhauran said confidently, because the poison pill he refined just now was a brand new poison that he had created by using 49 different recipes before he was forced to enter the demon god's ancient tomb. At that time, he had refined 3 pills and then tested them on an expert at the peak of the 7th grade martial saint realm and a strange beast at the peak of the 4th grade 9th grade. He knew that the poison contained in the poison pill he had created could definitely be ranked in the top 20 of the 100 poisons list in the Tianqian continent. After receiving Yuhauran's guarantee, Thaling was slightly relieved. When he saw Lu Shanshin frowning, Thaling was really relieved. Artifact Spirit, I'm really sorry. This is a brand new poison, and I can't remove it in a short time. After nearly 10 minutes of examination, Lu Shanshin withdrew his divine thoughts and took a few steps back. Then, he shook his head and said, Thaling, do you really want me to die? Even Lu Shanshin, an expert in detoxification, could not remove the poison just now. The artifact spirit of the sky measuring ruler, whose heart was dead, gradually entered a state of madness and vaguely had an impulse to self-destruct. Oh no, when Lu Shanshin was examining the poison just now, he must have used a special method to change the toxicity of the poison, causing the artifact spirit of the sky measuring ruler to fall into madness. Yuhauran knew very well what kind of effect the poison pill he had refined would have. Therefore, when he saw that the artifact spirit of the sky measuring ruler was not in a good condition, he could not help but remind it with a sudden change of expression. Little ruler, the poison I used just now will only make you fall into a deep sleep. It will not hurt you at all. You should calm down quickly. After hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, Thaling immediately used a secret method that could be used to calm the artifact spirit, hoping to wake up the crazy artifact spirit. Unfortunately, in the face of Thaling's secret method, the artifact spirit of the sky measuring ruler still became more and more crazy. Thaling, let me solve the problem of the artifact spirit of the sky measuring ruler. Seeing that the secret method used by Thaling did not work, Yu Haoran immediately ordered. Okay. Knowing that Yu Haoran had many means and might be able to solve the problem of the sky measuring ruler, Thaling handed over the control of his physical body without hesitation. Traces of Time. Chapter 1184. 100 Qi Gate. Thaling, take a detailed look at all of Lu Shanshin's life experiences. He needed to see what method Lu Shanshin had used just now to change the characteristics of the poison contained in the poisonous pill he had refined and to come up with a solution in time. Therefore, he did not have too much energy to pay attention to other experiences in Lu Shanshin's life for the time being, including the plan of the master of the underground palace, how to remove the original poison in the sky measuring ruler, and so on. Yu Haoran, I have a secret method that can replicate all of Lu Shanshin's life experiences. After hearing Yu Haoran's instructions, Thaling immediately told him the method to deal with the sky measuring ruler's weapon spirit without worry. Lilac pollen. When he saw Lu Shanshin use his spiritual force to check the toxicity of the poison and quietly add a kind of pollen with very little toxicity, Yu Haoran's eyes flashed with a trace of shock. In just 10 minutes, he could distinguish the attribute of the poison and use the lilac pollen to change part of the poison's power. He was extremely shocked by Lu Shanshin's poison Dao cultivation. He felt a trace of admiration and horror for Lu Shanshin's poison using methods and skills. Fortunately, he had just used the nomological martial technique with the mark of time to eliminate Lu Shanshin, whose alchemy ability was not inferior to his own. Otherwise, his loved ones could be in danger at any time. After taking a deep breath and adjusting the emotional changes caused by Lu Shanshin, Yu Haoran began to look for ways to remove the poison that had undergone a fundamental change in toxicity. The lilac pollen itself contained very little toxicity and would not pose any danger to living beings. This also meant that the lilac pollen was just a primer to change the toxicity of the poison. Then, as long as he removed or reduced the power of the primer, the toxicity of the poison would return to normal. Thinking of this, Yu Haoran immediately thought of a flower that was between a spiritual flower and an ordinary flower. It was the 3-leaf flower. He turned his head and looked at a flower with 3 petals on a branch in the garden of the Hidden Moon Pavilion. He reached out and sucked, and the 3-leaf flower instantly appeared in his hand. After shattering the petals of the 3-leaf flower with his essence energy, he directly slapped the pollen into the body of the sky measuring ruler. The artifact spirit, who was about to reach the limit of madness and was about to detonate its body, quickly calmed down and slowly dispersed the energy of its body that had just been activated. Little ruler, do you know how you were poisoned? Thaling asked excitedly when he saw that the heaven measuring ruler had completely calmed down. Weren't you the one who poisoned me just now? The artifact spirit mocked coldly. Little Qi, the reason I poisoned you just now was to calm you down. I had no intention of harming you at all. Seeing that the spirit of the sky measuring ruler was still full of hatred towards him, Thaling hurriedly explained for himself. Then, he continued to ask, I was asking about the poison you were afflicted with in the past. I don't know. The artifact spirit did not forgive Thaling's act of poisoning just because of his explanation. His tone was still indifferent as he replied. Shaoqi, the person who poisoned you came from one of the top 7 sects in the profound sky continent, the Yushu Temple. The agitated Thaling directly left the space of Yu Haoran's sea of consciousness. Then, He pointed at Lu Shanshin, who had just been decomposed and fell among the gravel, and shouted excitedly. And Lu Shanshin, who detoxified the poison you were afflicted with, is also from the Yushu Temple. After hearing Thaling's agitated explanation, the body of the sky-measuring ruler trembled slightly. Then, it calmed down and said in a cold tone, "So what? You!" Facing the artifact spirit's ungrateful behavior, Thaling was so angry that he did not know what to say. "Thaling, go back to the Sea of Consciousness first." After successfully resolving the crisis of the artifact spirit's self-detonation, Yuhauran began to refine the detoxification pills with the help of the Nihility pill condensation technique. When the detoxification pills were successfully refined, Thaling was so angry that he did not know what to say. After taking back the 9 detoxification pills floating in the air, Yuhauran ordered Thaling. After Thaling returned to the Sea of Consciousness, Yuhauran flicked one of the detoxification pills directly to the sky-measuring ruler, and said coldly, "This detoxification pill can detoxify the poison you were afflicted with just now." After the artifact spirit of the sky-measuring ruler emerged and used the detoxification pill to detoxify the poison in its body, Yuhauran still said coldly, "Thaling has just removed the seal of the void. You can leave now. Don't you want me to recognize you as my master?" Seeing Yuhauran actively driving him away, the artifact spirit asked in confusion. "Humph." Glancing at the sky-measuring ruler disdainfully, Yuhauran turned and flew directly to the Qingyun Peak, leaving behind a sentence that almost made the sky-measuring ruler furious. "Artifact spirit of the sky-measuring ruler, don't take yourself too seriously. In the eyes of Yuhauran, your real value is actually no different from an ordinary iron. If it weren't for the deep relationship between you and Thaling, I wouldn't be bothered to talk to you now. Boy, you'll regret it sooner or later." Looking at Yuhauran's back, the artifact spirit floating on the sky-measuring ruler gnashed his teeth and cursed. "I won't see you off," Yuhauran said without looking back. "Just you wait." After the angry artifact spirit merged into its body, it directly soared into the sky and then disappeared into the 100-Chi gate. "Yuhauran, are you really willing to let the sky-measuring ruler leave?" Watching the sky-measuring ruler turn into a white light and completely disappear from sight, Thaling asked in confusion. "Yes." Nodding, Yuhauran calmly explained. "A celestial artifact like the sky-measuring ruler doesn't have strong offensive power, nor is it suitable for defense. It's really not very useful. There's no difference whether it's there or not." Although he explained with a calm expression, Thaling could feel a trace of displeasure and unwillingness in Yuhauran's tone, so he didn't continue to ask. Slowly landing in front of Chu Zhongyu and the others, Yuhauran found that in addition to excitement in their eyes, there was more awe when facing an expert. Originally, he had a belly full of words in his heart, but they instantly disappeared without a trace. Yuhauran instructed as he took out the wooden box containing the Buddha heart fruit from his storage ring and handed it to Chu Zhongyu. "Eldest senior brother, when master returns to Qingyun Peak, please give the wooden box to him." Chu Zhongyu didn't know if he should call Yuhauran 9th junior brother, prince consort, or grandmaster Yu, so he could only nod and silently take the wooden box. "Second senior brother, this jade slip records the opportunity that I once promised you." Taking out a blank jade slip from his storage ring, he described in detail the detailed route to the cave residence left behind by the martial sage expert who achieved his Tao through cooking, and then handed it to Lu Guangwei. "9th junior brother, this." Chapter 1185. The 100-Chi Gate, Qingyun Peak. Shaking his head, Yuhauran signaled Lu Guangwei not to say anything. Then, he looked at Gongsun Yuding. "Little junior sister, the comfortable environment of Qingyun Peak is not suitable for you. Only when you leave Qingyun Peak, the 100-Chi Gate, and the protection of the sect can you use your physique and talent." Knowing that Yuhauran was guiding her cultivation, Gongsun Yuding quickly asked, Ninth senior brother, where should I go next? Yu Haoran just shook his head with a smile, and did not give any opinion. Then, he took out 9 invitations from his storage ring and handed them to Chu Zhongyu. Eldest senior brother, on September 29th, which is 12 days later, I will marry Ling Fei in Xianying City. If you have time, you can go to the wedding. Ninth junior brother, congratulations. Chu Zhongyu immediately congratulated him after receiving the invitations. Yu Haoran nodded and thanked him. Then, he rose into the air and planned to leave Qingyun Peak and go straight to the depths of the mountain where the 100 Qi Gate was located. But at this moment, the Thaling in his sea of consciousness suddenly reminded him. Yu Haoran, that little girl Kong Yong-a was poisoned by Lu Shanxin. She is now locked up in a courtyard in the Hall of Merit. His body suddenly stopped and he immediately rushed to the Hall of Merit. When Yu Haoran saw the symbolic palace of the Hall of Merit, a nameless rage surged within him, causing him to instantly take out his purple staff. Everyone in the Hall of Merits, come out immediately. Due to the terrifying aura of the heaven-measuring ruler, dozens of disciples were forced to kneel in the hall. After hearing Yu Haoran's roar, they immediately got up and left the hall. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang, the Hall of Merit that had been erected at the 100 Qi Gate for 1,000 years was completely turned into a pile of ruins under the bombardment of the Violet Rod. In the future, no matter who becomes the sect master, and no matter who becomes the hall master of the Achievement Hall, this hall is not allowed to be built, and this place is not allowed to be cleaned. Floating above the ruins, Yu Haoran ordered coldly. Yes, Vice Sect Leader. After hearing Yu Haoran's order, the Achievement Hall's disciples and deacons, as well as Lai Yen and the elders who had just arrived, immediately obeyed respectfully. Glancing at Gao Wanping, who was standing beside Lai Yen, Yu Haoran suddenly thought of Ouyang Haoyu, who had married Qin Lingfei in his previous life. He immediately released a powerful divine sense and swept through the entire law enforcement peak. When he discovered the unconscious Ouyang Haoyu in the secret room of the law enforcement peak, Yu Haoran looked at Gao Wanping with a cold gaze. However, a sentence Thaling in his sea of consciousness made him quickly withdraw the cold gaze in his eyes. Then, he went straight to Kong Yong-a's courtyard. Yu Haoran, although the transformation of Gao Wanping's and Ouyang Haoyu's spirits will no longer have any effect on you, it will allow Jiang Jingya to break through to the martial sage realm in a short period of time. Quickly landing in the courtyard, Yu Haoran scanned all the rooms in the courtyard with his divine sense. In a flash, he entered Kong Yong-a's room. Walking to the side of Kong Yong-a's bed, Yu Haoran softly called out as he looked at the lovely person whose eyes were filled with tears. Junior Martial Sister Jiang. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Kong Yong-a originally thought that Lu Shanxin had returned. Just as she was despairingly waiting for her virginity to be taken away by the person she respected and hated, she suddenly heard the voice of her dreams. She immediately opened her eyes and the face of the person she had yearned for day and night immediately came into view. At this moment, she wanted to directly throw herself into Yu Haoran's arms. At this moment, she wanted to emotionally call out Yu Haoran's name. However, with her body poisoned by Lu Shanxin's poison pill, she could not do anything and could not say anything. She could only cry anxiously. Junior Martial Sister Jiang, don't be afraid. Senior Martial Brother is here to protect you. Seeing the tears in Kong Yong-a's eyes, Yu Haoran hurriedly comforted her. Yu Haoran, you silly boy. Hurry up and detoxify Jiang Lass. Seeing that Yu Haoran only knew how to comfort Kong Yong-a but did not know why she was crying, Thaling jokingly reminded him. After hearing Thaling's reminder, Yu Haoran immediately checked Kong Yong-a's body and found that she had only been poisoned by a poison called soft cartilage. He took out an antidote pill from his storage ring and helped Kong Yong-a consume it. After only 3 seconds, Kong Yong-a, who had completely recovered, directly threw herself into Yu Haoran's arms and cried bitterly. Yu Shixiang, Xiao Feng is dead. Xiao Feng was poisoned to death by Lu Shanxin. Hearing Kong Yong-ah mention Xiao Feng, Yu Haoran only remembered Wind-tailed Fox, who had changed her body constitution and always protected her safety. Junior Jiang, where is Xiao Feng's body? After hearing Kong Yong-ah mention how Wind-tailed Fox died, Yu Haoran immediately asked. After all, Wind-tailed Fox's body contained the purest bloodline of the nine-tailed celestial fox, one of the 9 great ancient mythical beast kings. It would not be so easily poisoned to death. Lu Shanxin threw the body away. Kong Yong-ah, who did not leave Yu Haoran's arms, replied while crying, "Pagoda spirit!" Yu Haoran immediately called out to the pagoda spirit in his sea of consciousness. After all, he had read Lu Shanxin's life in detail and definitely knew where he threw Wind-tailed Fox's body. After carefully recalling Lu Shanxin's life and finding the location where he threw Wind-tailed Fox's body, Thaling immediately used his divine telekinesis to retrieve Wind-tailed Fox's body. Reaching out to pat Kong Yong-ah's shoulder, Yu Haoran gently reminded her, "Junior Jiang, let me check Wind-tailed Fox's body." After hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, Kong Yong-ah reluctantly left his arms. But when she saw Wind-tailed Fox lying on the table, she immediately rushed to Wind-tailed Fox's body. The tears that she had stopped with much difficulty once again dripped down. Yu Haoran, who also walked to Wind-tailed Fox's body, first used his divine telekinesis to check the body. He did not find any signs of poisoning. Then, he took out a drop of black blood from Wind-tailed Fox's little paw and carefully identified the energy in the black blood. Blood-severing pill. After discovering that the pure blood essence of the ancient 9-tailed celestial fox had disappeared from the black blood, Yu Haoran muttered to himself with a serious expression, "Yu Shixiang, what is the blood-severing pill?" After hearing Yu Haoran's muttering, Kong Yong-ah thought carefully and realized that she had never heard of the name of this pill before, so she quickly asked, "It's a special pill that is between a poison pill and a spiritual pill." Yu Haoran replied to Kong Yong-ah's question while thinking of a way to neutralize the effects of the blood-severing pill in Wind-tailed Fox's body. "If a person with an ordinary body like mine were to consume it, the blood-severing pill would purify the impurities in the blood and increase the potential and strength." Chapter 1186. Inside the 100 Qi Gate. Junior Jiang, the blood-severing pill will forcefully purify the pure bloodline of the ancestral 9-tailed fox in Little Wind's body, and will also severely damage its soul. After explaining to this point, Yu Haoran's eyes suddenly lit up. A medicinal pill that could resurrect the Wind-tailed Fox and let it achieve bloodline transformation appeared in his mind. The blood recovery pill was an ordinary pill that could replenish blood. It was suitable for ordinary warriors to stop bleeding and quickly replenish the blood in their body when they were injured. He quickly checked the storage ring and Victor's collection with his mind. Finally, he found the 7 ordinary herbs needed to refine the blood recovery pill in the Victor. As a low-level pill suitable for warriors below the level of martial master, it was refined using the heaven-defying void pill condensation technique. It could be said that using an anti-aircraft gun to kill a mosquito was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Therefore, Yu Haoran chose to skip the incubation process after the condensation process and the incubation process after the separation process. In the end, he succeeded in refining 9 pills. "Yu Shixiang, isn't this a grade 8 blood recovery pill?" Seeing that Yu Haoran had only refined ordinary blood recovery pills with his mysterious alchemy technique, Kong Yong-ah could not understand why he did this. Junior Jiang, in the art of alchemy, the more famous the pill, the better it is, and the higher the grade, the stronger it is. In response to Kong Yong-ah's questioning, Yu Haoran fed one of the blood recovery pills into Wind-tailed Fox's body and used his Yuanli to help it dissolve. Only those that are truly suitable are the best. As the blood recovery pill that was fed into Wind-tailed Fox's body began to take effect, its yellowish hair gradually regained its luster, and the cold corpse slowly regained its temperature. As for Kong Yong-ah, who had signed a contract with Wind-tailed Fox, she felt it even more clearly. Raising her head to look at Yu Haoran, Kang Yong-ah was both extremely excited and somewhat puzzled as she asked, "Yu Shixiang, how do you know that Xiao Feng is not truly dead?" Because Wind-tailed Fox had been poisoned to death by Lu Shanxin for more than 3 hours, not only had her body cooled down, the contract with her soul had also disappeared. This was enough to prove that the Wind-tailed Fox was completely dead. Junior sister Jiang, do you still remember the contract you signed with Wind-tailed Fox in the Blue Moon Secret Realm? Yu Haoran asked with a smile while paying attention to Wind-tailed Fox, whose vitality was slowly returning. Symbiotic contract. Wind-tailed Fox's sudden death, and the despair that her virginity could be taken away by Lu Shanxin at any time, caused Kang Yong-ah's mind to be in a mess, causing her to not even think about the special contract between her and Wind-tailed Fox. Symbiotic contract, life and death together, as long as one party truly dies, then the other party of the contract will also die immediately. Shifting his gaze from Kang Yong-ah to Wind-tailed Fox, Yu Haoran was vaguely worried about the potential danger of the symbiotic contract to Kang Yong-ah, and could not help but ask for help from Thaling in his sea of consciousness. Yu Haoran, the symbiotic contract is the highest level of contract among the rules. Even if the heavenly Tao personally intervened, it would not be able to break the symbiotic contract between Jiang Girl and Wind-tailed Fox. In response to Yu Haoran's request for help, Thaling expressed that he was also unable to help. In response, Yu Haoran was disappointed, and began to think about how to better ensure the safety of Kang Yong-ah and Wind-tailed Fox. Of course, the main thing was to increase Wind-tailed Fox's strength. This was because Thaling had already provided a solution to increase Kang Yong-ah's strength. Squeak squeak. As the vitality returned to a certain level, Wind-tailed Fox slowly opened its eyes. After seeing Kang Yong-ah with tears in her eyes, Wind-tailed Fox immediately cried out in excitement. Little Wind. Kang Yong-ah hugged Wind-tailed Fox tightly in her arms, and cried out in excitement and heartache. Squeak squeak. Wind-tailed Fox, who came back from the dead, was also very excited and told Kang Yong-ah its feelings at this moment. Looking at the sincere relationship between Kang Yong-ah and Wind-tailed Fox, Yu Haoran completely extinguished the idea of letting them break the symbiotic contract, and also found a way to increase Wind-tailed Fox's strength. However, when he would help Wind-tailed Fox to increase its strength, it would depend on his own schedule after the Battle of the Five Territories. Yu Haoran took out an invitation to his and Qin Lingfei's wedding, and quietly placed it on the table. Then, he quietly left the room and went straight to the law enforcement peak. Standing quietly in front of the stone door of the law enforcement peak's secret room, Yu Haoran observed Gao Luanping, who was using the Devil Dao's secret technique, and did not take the risk to attack. Instead, he asked Thaling how he could use the energy transferred by Gao Luanping and Ouyang Haoyu to help Kang Yong-ah improve her cultivation and strength. Yu Haoran leave. However, to his surprise, the tower spirit suddenly suggested to leave when he asked for help. Why? Yu Haoran was both puzzled and angry as he questioned. After all, the idea of using the energy transferred by Gao Luanping and Ouyang Haoyu's soul to improve Kang Yong-ah's cultivation and strength was brought up by Thaling. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the sparrow behind. Facing Yu Haoran's unhappy questioning, Thaling explained with a dignified expression. Gao Luanping thinks that he can replace everything of Ouyang Haoyu, but he doesn't know that the sparrow hidden in Ouyang Haoyu's sea of consciousness wants to use this opportunity to seize everything that the two of them have. Who? Hearing that there was an old monster hidden in Ouyang Haoyu's sea of consciousness, Yu Haoran immediately asked nervously. A devil who is between good and evil, and whose cultivation has reached the third tribulation quasi-Emperor Wu's level. Thaling said in a dignified tone. I see. Hearing that the old monster hidden in Ouyang Haoyu's Sea of Consciousness was a powerful expert who had reached the third tribulation quasi-Emperor Wu's level, Yu Haoran finally understood why Gao Luanping's performance in his previous life was so amazing, and why even Emperor Qin was willing to marry Qin Lingfei to him. After all, whether it was Gao Luanping or Ouyang Haoyu, they could only be considered as outstanding top geniuses. Even if they used the Devil Path's secret method to fuse and improve their own potential, they could only reach the level of a peerless genius at most. They could not be compared to top geniuses like the Sword Without Trace and Lin Mengyao. But the result, whether it was the speed of cultivation improvement or the strength that he displayed, Gao Luanping was not inferior to the Sword Without Trace and Lin Mengyao. This could be said that the person who replaced Ouyang Haoyu was the third tribulation quasi-Emperor Wu, powerful expert who had been hiding in his Sea of Consciousness all this time. With Thaling's current state, he was still not a match for the third tribulation quasi-Emperor Wu, powerful expert, so he could only choose to leave for the time being. However, when the powerful expert swallowed and replaced Ouyang Haoyu, limited by Ouyang Haoyu's own cultivation, the power that the third tribulation quasi-Emperor Wu could display would be affected. Chapter 1187. Deep in the mountains on the cliff. Looking at the bottomless cliff in front of him, Yu Haoran's eyes revealed a trace of nostalgia and worry. Back then, he was able to discover the primeval forest hidden in the depths of the mountains and successfully obtain the living soil that could assist in the cultivation of the Qi into Trinity, as well as the divine lotus that could improve one's potential. It was all thanks to the strange black rat that could suppress the black bear's bloodline. Based on the black rat's affection and reluctance to leave him at that time, it should not have left for such a long time. This made him vaguely feel that the black rat might have met with an accident. Therefore, this time when he returned to the primeval forest, other than to collect some medicinal herbs of sufficient age to refine some elixirs that could be returned as a gift, his main purpose was to find the black rat. In the past, his cultivation was too low and he had to use the method of condensing the dragon to safely reach the bottom of the cliff. But now, in a flash, he jumped down the cliff and appeared at the bottom of the cliff. Looking at the primeval forest in front of him that had not changed much, Yu Haoran directly released a powerful divine thought. While looking for medicinal herbs of sufficient age, he ordered Thaling to use an even more powerful divine thought to find the whereabouts of the black rat. 13,000 years old purple-leaved orchid. Just as he spread out his divine thought, less than a kilometer away, he found a stalk of purple-leaved orchid that could be used to refine the foundation establishment elixir. In a flash, he appeared in front of the purple-leaved orchid, carefully uprooted it and put it into a wooden box that he had prepared beforehand. Yu Haoran kept the wooden box in his storage ring and continued to use his divine thought to search. 18,000 years old purple monkey flower. 7,500 years old candlelight grass. 9,300 years old evergreen flower. In less than an hour, less than 1/5 of the primeval forest had been searched. Yu Haoran had found 13 types of herbs that were more than 10,000 years old and 21 types of herbs that were more than 5,000 years old. Yu Haoran, I used my divine thought to search 3 times just now, but I did not find any trace of the black rat. Yu Haoran had just collected a 20,000-year-old Ganoderma spirit grass when the pagoda spirit reminded him in his Sea of Consciousness. Could it be, as Black Bear said, that the black rat has left the mountain range and gone out to find its own opportunity? Thaling Emperor Wu's divine sense could easily cover the entire primeval forest. If the black rat had stayed in the primeval forest, it would not have been able to avoid the detection of Thaling's spiritual sense. In the end, it was just as He Xiong had said when he had broken through to the 4th level Saint Realm. He Xiong had gone out to search for his own opportunity. Yu Haoran secretly let out a sigh of relief as he looked for his own opportunity, and at the same time, put all his energy into collecting the spiritual herbs. In a cave at the edge of a primeval forest, the black rat that Yuhauran had been searching for was currently struggling in pain. The originally pitch-black hair had all fallen off, and eerie iron chains appeared on the blood-stained skin from time to time. Every time the chains vaguely appeared, the black rat would show unbearable pain and begin to struggle with all its might. Every time the iron chains disappeared into its body, the black rat would return to normal, but its small eyes would show its unwillingness. After struggling back and forth for nearly 2 hours, the black rat finally gave up on its desperate struggle and allowed the iron chains to continue to disappear into its body. The blood on the black rat, which no longer resisted the iron chains, quickly dried up and was quickly squeezed out by the new black hair, allowing it to return to its previous form. Closing its small eyes, the black rat recovered the demonic power and soul power it had used to struggle free of the iron chains. When it was about to leave the cave, it unexpectedly felt a familiar aura, and immediately retreated back into the cave. His small eyes were filled with anxiety and worry. Thaling, although there are no strange beasts or wild beasts running rampant in this primeval forest, and it can ensure the smooth growth of some spiritual herbs, the concentration of spiritual energy in this primeval forest doesn't seem to be enough to support the growth of these spiritual herbs for so long. Pointing at a stalk of sage ginseng that was close to 100,000 years old, Yuhauran's eyes were full of doubts. Yuhauran, actually, when you and I first entered this primeval forest, I also had the same doubts in my heart. Hearing Yuhauran begin to suspect that the primeval forest was not simple and strange, Thaling frowned and reminded him. So, when I was looking for the black rat's tracks, I checked from top to bottom 3 times, and did not discover any secrets hidden in this forest. Thaling, just now my sixth sense told me that this primeval forest definitely hides a shocking secret, but our cultivation and strength are too low, and we are temporarily unable to discover the location of the secret. After hearing Thaling's reminder, which was also full of doubts, Yuhauran closed his eyes and carefully sensed for a while, and his sixth sense suddenly gave him a very special hint. Great misfortune contained great fortune. Great misfortune contained within great fortune. That's true. After hearing Yuhauran's reminder, Thaling nodded and agreed with a deep understanding. Yuhauran, when your cultivation breaks through to the martial honorable realm, help me refine a kind of top healing pill, and help my soul completely return to the peak state of Emperor Wu. At that time, we will return to this primeval forest, and then work together to find the hidden secrets. Nodding, Yuhauran carefully took away the purple Ganoderma that was close to 100,000 years old, and then used his divine sense to check the primeval forest again. After confirming that there were not too many omissions, he sped up and hurried to the cliff of the primeval forest. After Yuhauran had just left the primeval forest, the black rat that had quietly left the cave stretched out its short claws and patted its chest hard. But at this time, the entire primeval forest suddenly began to shake violently. As the primeval forest shook violently, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth that Yuhauran had suspected to be thin began to increase by a few times, a dozen times, a dozen times, and even 100 times. Soon, the primeval forest was shrouded in dense spiritual fog, and the stream that had been used to fight for the divine lotus, because of the violent shaking of the primeval forest, slowly cracked in the middle, and a black stone tablet emerged from the crack. The front of the black stone tablet was densely engraved with many words. If one looked carefully, they would find that these densely engraved words were all the names of living beings. Laozi, Yuanshi, Tongtian, Zhu Aotian, Pingyu, Sun Wudao, and other famous immortals and gods from the ancient, middle, and recent ancient times were listed at the top of the stone tablet. Chapter 1188. In the depths of the mountain range, in the primeval forest, on the back of the black stone tablet, there was a carving of a long, sharp blade. A blood blade with 9 drops of blood dripping from its tip. Under the blood blade, there was a shadow of a creature whose appearance and body could not be seen clearly. It was kneeling there, as if it was being punished by the blood blade. At the bottom of the black stone tablet, there were 9 long chains that extended directly to the edge of the primeval forest. There was a black rat with a fierce look in its eyes. Although there was a towering tree blocking its view, the black rat could still see the black stone tablet clearly. Looking at the name of the creature carved on the front of the black stone tablet, the black rat slammed its slender black tail on the ground. The 9 chains at the bottom of the black stone tablet immediately formed 9 strong suction forces, directly absorbing the thick spiritual fog that shrouded the entire primeval forest in an instant. As the thick spiritual fog was absorbed by the chains, the originally loose 9 chains suddenly tightened, then pulled the black stone tablet back into the crack slowly. At the same time, the crack in the spring gradually closed up. In less than a minute, the primeval forest that had been destroyed was restored to its original state. Looking up in the direction of the cliff, the black rat's small eyes revealed a look of anticipation and viciousness. After leaving the primeval forest, Yuhauran was not in a hurry to leave the mountain range. Instead, he woke up the black bear that was sleeping in the beast pet space, then rushed to the cave that the black bear used to cultivate in. Landing in front of the cave that the black bear used to cultivate in, Yuhauran did not enter the cave. Instead, he looked at a green rock about 100 meters away from the cave, his eyes revealing a look of reminiscence. "You have to be responsible for it." Thinking of the words that the charming fox Bai Tong left before she left, Yuhauran's face revealed a trace of gentleness. Then, he spread out his powerful divine mind, and began to search the entire mountain range where the 100 Chi Gate was located, looking for traces of the little white fox. After confirming that the charming fox Bai Tong was not in the mountain range, and that there were no exotic beasts that surpassed the 4th level of the Saint stage, Yuhauran called out to the black bear and directly flew into the air, quickly leaving the mountain range and the 100 Chi Gate. "Yuhauran, where do you plan to go next?" Seeing that Yuhauran didn't fly back to Xianyang City after leaving the 100 Chi Gate, Faling couldn't help but ask. "Valley of the Medicine Masters, to visit the first clone." After leaving a list of his intended destinations, Yuhauran exploded with all his strength and headed straight for the Valley of the Medicine Masters at lightning speed. In the forbidden area of the Imperial Palace in Xianyang City, the Qin Emperor asked the Heavenly Martial sect leader, Yi Junan, with a grave expression as he looked at the white-haired old man who was lying peacefully on the bed with barely discernible breathing. "Lord Yi, how could the injuries of the Ancestor Yuan be so serious?" "Your Majesty, when Ancestor Yuan returned to the sect, although his injuries were very serious, he was still able to heal himself." In the face of Emperor Qin's interrogation, Yi Junan glanced coldly at Ting Yunjie and spoke rather rudely. However, ever since he left the forbidden area for healing, Ancestor Yuan's injuries instantly worsened. "I'm now worried that Ancestor Yuan won't be able to see the sun rise tomorrow." "Sect leader, it's all my fault." Ting Yunjie admitted his mistake in the face of Yi Junan's reprimand. "If Ancestor Yuan returns in the end, then Yunjie is willing to follow Ancestor Yuan." "Yunjie, things aren't as serious as you think." Emperor Qin hurriedly comforted Ting Yunjie after hearing that he was willing to die. Then, Emperor Qin turned his head and instructed Qin Lingfei, who had also come to visit the Ting family's ancestor. "Lingfei, immediately contact the prince consort and ask him to return to the imperial palace as soon as possible so that he can treat Ancestor Yuan in time." After hearing Emperor Qin's instructions, Qin Lingfei nodded and took out the communication jade talisman. Just as she was about to contact Yuhauran, the communication jade talisman in her hand immediately lit up. "Father, sect leader Yi, brother Yunjie, the prince consort is back." Raising her head to remind the 3 people in the room, Qin Lingfei put away the communication jade talisman and immediately turned to leave the room to welcome Yu Haoran. Outside Xianying City, in the sky about 300 kilometers away, Yu Haoran was rushing to Xianying City at a steady speed. Yu Haoran, I really didn't expect that the first clone's alchemy cultivation would improve so quickly. Although it had been some time since he left the Medicine King Valley, Thaling still found it difficult to calm the shock in his heart. As the main body, Yu Haoran was not as shocked as Thaling, but he was also very excited. 5 hours ago, with the help of the spirit of the Medicine King Valley's high-grade rank 3 spirit vein, he quietly sneaked into the valley where the pill furnace was stored, and then used the method of telepathy to awaken the first clone that was cultivating in the pill furnace. To Yu Haoran's surprise, in less than a year, the first clone had not only successfully won the recognition of the low-grade Emperor Pill Furnace spirit, but also successfully refined the pill furnace into his life source weapon. Therefore, after awakening, the first clone directly brought him into the space of the pill furnace. After that, the first clone not only showed him the peak of the alchemy grandmaster level, but also spent less than 4 hours to refine 3 level 9 treasures resurrection elixirs, as well as the level 3 level 9 yin-yang fusion elixir that he gave to Qin Lingfei. The alchemy Dao cultivation and ability displayed by the first clone had already officially surpassed the main body, Yu Haoran. Yu Haoran, according to your knowledge of alchemy cultivation, how long will it take for the first clone to reach the Pill Emperor level? Seeing that they were getting closer and closer to Xianying City, Thaling took a deep breath and finally calmed his agitated heart, and asked the answer he wanted to know most. Because the achievement of the first clone in alchemy in a short period of time was related to whether his spirit body could recover to the martial god level as soon as possible. Under normal circumstances, with the first clone's alchemy potential, even with the inheritance of the alchemy venerable and the guidance of the Emperor Pill Furnace spirit, it will take at least 3 to 5 years to reach the Pill Emperor level. After hearing Thaling's question, Yu Haoran did a little calculation and then answered. However, with the help of the Nihility Pill condensation technique, it will at least shorten the time by more than half. I think, in a year at least, and a year and a half at most, the first clone will definitely be able to break through the peak of the Alchemy Grandmaster level and become the first Pill Emperor in tens of thousands of years. Hearing Yu Haoran's answer, Thaling's emotions, which had been adjusted with difficulty, immediately fell into excitement again. However, he did not reveal his ultimate goal, nor did he express any emotions. He just returned to the top floor of the victor body and readjusted his emotions. At this moment, Qin Lingfei quickly flew up from the palace of Xianying City and then went straight to Yu Haoran. Chapter 1189. In the forbidden area of Xianying City's Imperial Palace, Yu Haoran looked at the white-haired old man, whose aura was faintly discernible, lying on the bed. He withdrew his fingers from the old man's wrist, and could not help but frown. "Junior brother Yu, how's great ancestor?" Ting Yunjie asked nervously when he saw Yu Haoran frowning. "Senior brother Ting, did your great ancestor consume a pill that can heal his soul on his way to Xianying City after he left his place of cultivation?" Yu Haoran looked away from the white-haired old man and asked the nervous Ting Yunjie with a displeased tone. Ting Yunjie turned to look at the displeased Yi Junan, then he nodded and replied. "Junior brother Yu, I was worried that great ancestor wouldn't be able to withstand the long journey, so I gave him a rank 4, grade 3 soul-calming pill. Senior brother Ting, when I asked you to bring Senior Ting to Xianying City, didn't I specifically tell you not to give him any pill that can heal his soul?" Yu Haoran complained after hearing Ting Yunjie's reply. He felt a headache coming on. "Why don't you listen to me?" Based on the examination just now and Thaling's speculation about the injuries to the Ting family's great ancestors' sea of consciousness and spiritual sense, he could roughly guess the severity of the great ancestors' injuries. Therefore, when Yangming's first clone planned to display his alchemy skills, he asked his clone to refine a rank 3, grade 9 soul-recovering pill to deal with the Ting family's great ancestors' sea of consciousness. Nevertheless, he did not expect that Ting Yunjie's refusal to listen to Yangming's advice caused trouble in his preparations. He had to refine another pill that could eliminate the soul-calming pill's medicinal efficacy to save the Ting family's great ancestor. After hearing Yu Haoran's complaint, Ting Yunjie could not help but turn to look at Yi Junan with a displeased look in his eyes. After witnessing Yu Haoran's performance in alchemy, how could he not take Yu Haoran's advice to heart? However, when the old ancestor was being transferred away from his place of cultivation, Sect Master Yi Junan completely ignored his warning and forcefully fed him a soul-calming pill, saying that it would prevent the old ancestor's injuries from worsening. Just now, Yi Junan had accused him of being untrustworthy. Now, Yu Haoran was blaming himself for not listening to his advice. At this moment, while Ting Yunjie felt wronged, he also resented Yi Junan. Seeing the dissatisfaction in Ting Yunjie's eyes, Yi Junan, who had long suppressed his anger, questioned in a mocking tone. Yu Haoran, on what basis do you say that the deterioration of Ancestor Yuan's injuries is because of the soul-calming pill? Is it because you just broke through the realm of alchemy Grandmaster? Although Yu Haoran had never come into contact with the sect master of the Heavenly Martial Sect, Yi Junan, in his previous life, as one of the overlords of the 7 great sects, he had heard many evaluations of Yi Junan. They said that he was a hateful person who was open-minded but short-sighted and missed countless good opportunities. They said that he was a person whose heart was higher than the sky but whose life was thinner than paper and would always make others feel pity for him. They said that he was a lamentable person who was ambitious but could not bear heavy responsibilities and was not suitable to be the sect master of the Heavenly Martial Sect. Yu Haoran did not think much of such an irresponsible person, whether it was in his previous life or in this life. Therefore, when he had just entered the door, he had chosen to ignore all of Yi Junan's questioning. However, now that Yi Junan had dared to question his ability in alchemy, Yu Haoran could not tolerate it and could not continue to ignore it. That's right, Yu Haoran said arrogantly as he looked straight at Yi Junan. Based on the fact that I, Yu Haoran, have just broken through to the realm of alchemy Grandmaster, I am qualified to give the evaluation just now. Ha ha! Yi Junan scoffed at Yu Haoran's arrogant reply. He sized up Yu Haoran with a disdainful gaze and did not hide the disdain in his eyes. Sect Master Yi, as one of the top 7 sects in the Tianxian continent, the Heavenly Martial Sect must have alchemists at the realm of alchemy Grandmaster. If Yi Junan had refuted or humiliated him, Yu Haoran might have only retaliated slightly on account of Ting Yunjie and let him know the price of looking down on others. However, Yi Junan's disdainful mockery was an action that could easily infuriate him. Therefore, Yu Haoran, who had regained his composure in an instant, decided to teach Yi Junan a lesson that he would never forget. That's right. Yi Junan frowned slightly and nodded in response to Yu Haoran's sudden anger. However, he still replied rather arrogantly. The Heavenly Martial Sect has 3 alchemy grandmasters that we nurtured ourselves. One of them has already reached the pinnacle of alchemy. Sect Master Yi, since the Heavenly Martial Sect has an alchemy grandmaster with such a profound cultivation, why did you ask Senior Brother Ting to ask me to refine the 9 Suns Soul Recovery Pill? After hearing Yi Junan's arrogant reply, the corners of Yu Haoran's mouth curled up slightly. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes as he asked in a slightly provocative tone. Who asked Ting Yunjie to ask you for help? Yu Haoran's expression, gaze, and tone instantly ignited the anger in Yi Junan's heart. He immediately retorted with a flushed face. Considering that you are the prince consort of the great Emperor Qin's kingdom and have a certain relationship with the Heavenly Martial Sect, I wanted you to refine the 9 Suns Soul Recovery Pill to raise your alchemy cultivation. After hearing Yi Junan's rebuttal, Yu Haoran immediately pretended to be surprised. Then, he put away his surprised expression and continued to mock Yi Junan with a faintly discernible expression. Thank you for your kindness, Sect Master Yi. However, the 9 Suns Soul Recovery Pills grade is too low. It can't raise my alchemy cultivation at all. After that, he didn't give Yi Junan a chance to speak at all. He looked as if he was about to leave. Since your sect has an alchemy grandmaster with a higher alchemy cultivation, I won't embarrass myself here. I'll take my leave first. Seeing that Yu Haoran was about to leave and wasn't willing to help his sect's patriarch, Ting Yunjie opened his mouth to apologize and persuade him to stay. However, he was stopped by Emperor Qin's gaze. Originally, Emperor Qin didn't have a good impression of Yi Junan. It was only because of the special relationship between the imperial family and the heavenly martial sect that he treated Yi Junan with respect. However, Yi Junan's attitude of looking down on Yu Haoran made Emperor Qin quite unhappy. He also wanted to borrow Yu Haoran's hand to teach Yi Junan a lesson. After receiving a reminder from Emperor Qin's gaze, Ting Yunjie finally chose to shut his mouth. Then, he looked at his sect's patriarch with worry in his eyes. Seeing that Yu Haoran was about to leave, Yi Junan's face instantly darkened. Chapter 1190. In the forbidden area of the Imperial Palace in Xianyang City, Yi Junan did not immediately come forward to persuade Yu Haoran to stay, which was not out of his expectation. Therefore, just as he reached the door, he suddenly stopped and said to Ting Yunjie in an indifferent tone, "Senior brother Ting, it's not that I, Yu Haoran, don't leave him in the lurch, and it's not that I don't have the ability to save him. It's just that the sect master of the heavenly martial sect doesn't need my help at all. If your great ancestor dies in the end, it has nothing to do with me, Yu Haoran, and you won't have any responsibility either. I think His Majesty will definitely testify for you and me." Knowing that Yu Haoran's counterattack had begun, Emperor Qin promised quite cooperatively, "Nephew Yunjie, if the higher-ups of the Ting family and the heavenly martial sect hold you accountable, I will testify for you." When he heard Yu Haoran's slander and Emperor Qin's malicious help, Yi Junan, who wanted to instruct Ting Yunjie to take the great ancestor out of the imperial palace and return to the heavenly martial sect, shouted at Yu Haoran with a livid face. What do you mean by what you said just now?" Turning around, Yu Haoran shrugged and said with an innocent expression, "Sect Master Yi, I don't mean anything. I'm just telling the truth. When did I not ask you to save the great ancestor?" Yi Junan still questioned with a livid face in the face of Yu Haoran's shamelessness. "Sect Master Yi, when did you ask me to save the great ancestor?" Yu Haoran suddenly raised his voice and questioned. "You?" In the face of Yu Haoran's questioning, Yi Junan suddenly did not know how to answer. This was because since Yu Haoran entered the sect, he had been questioning Yu Haoran's cultivation in alchemy. He had no ability to treat the great ancestor's injury at all. On the contrary, Yu Haoran's risky proposal had harmed the great ancestor. "Sect Master Yi, you just admitted that there is an alchemy grandmaster in the heavenly martial sect whose cultivation in alchemy is far better than mine. Isn't it obvious that you don't believe in my ability in alchemy?" Yu Haoran did not give up the opportunity to continue attacking because of Yi Junan's silence. He continued to question in a loud voice. "Since Sect Master Yi doesn't believe in my, Yu Haoran's, ability in alchemy, then you must subconsciously not want me to save you. Then, what's wrong with me reminding you senior brothers just now?" "Uzazaz, Yi Junan's SS," Yi Junan said Yi. Seeing that Yu Haoran was about to confirm the fact that he had framed the great ancestor, Yi Junan angrily rebuked him. "Yi Junan, God is watching what people do. I'm afraid only you know what you're thinking." In the face of Yi Junan's exasperated rebuke, Yu Haoran suddenly calmed down and said indifferently. Taking a deep breath and suppressing the anger in his heart, Yi Junan took a step back, indicating that he would not say more. In this regard, Yu Haoran could not help but sneer. Then he turned around, stepped over the threshold, and left the room. Yu Haoran, don't go too far. Seeing Yu Haoran step out of the room, obviously ignoring his tacit concession just now, Yi Junan could no longer suppress the anger in his heart and directly scolded him. Just now, I've already taken a step back. Do you still want me to kneel down and apologize? Hearing Yi Junan's insults, not only did Emperor Qin and Qin Lingfei's faces instantly turn gloomy, but even Ting Yunjie could not help but frown. He intended to remind Yi Junan to pay attention to the way he spoke and his attitude towards Yu Haoran. However, Yu Haoran's storm-like counterattack made him swallow the words that were just about to come out of his mouth. Yi Junan, don't be so shameless. After hearing Yi Junan's insults, Yu Haoran immediately turned to look straight at him and used the same method to scold him back. I, Yu Haoran, am neither a disciple of the heavenly martial sect, nor am I your subordinate. I don't have to do whatever you want me to do. Yu Haoran, do you think I don't dare to do it? After hearing Yu Haoran's insults, Yi Junan's eyes immediately flashed with a hint of murderous intent as he threatened. Seeing the murderous intent in Yi Junan's eyes, Emperor Qin immediately took out his Emperor Realm sword and prepared to attack at any time. Yu Haoran shook his head at Emperor Qin and gestured for him to put away his Emperor Realm sword. Then, he looked at Yi Junan with disdain and spoke in a disdainful tone. If you, Yi Junan, had already become a martial honorable, you would barely have the qualifications to threaten me. However, you are merely a peak third tribulation quasi-martial honorable. Having said that, Yu Haoran suddenly took a step forward and activated all his strength to form a terrifying aura as he closed in on Yi Junan. You do not have the qualifications to threaten me, Yu Haoran. When he sensed Yu Haoran's terrifying aura, which was infinitely close to the martial honorable realm, Yi Junan's face immediately turned serious. This was because he knew very well that although Yu Haoran's cultivation was not as high as his true strength was not inferior to his. If they really fought without using the heavenly martial sect's Emperor Realm sword, only God would know who would win in the end. Yi Junan could not use his strength to suppress Yi Junan, nor was he willing to bear the responsibility of what would happen to the ancestor of the origin. He chose to submit and requested, Yu Haoran, what do you want to save the ancestor of the origin? Yi Junan, that depends on what kind of sincerity you can bring out to make me willing to save the ancestor of the origin. Yu Haoran gave the choice back to Yi Junan. A 6th-level high-grade spiritual vein, a peak top-grade Saint Realm defensive magic tool, an early-stage Heaven Realm palm technique, and a 3rd-level first-grade Spirit Dragon Heavenly Ganoderma. Seeing that Yu Haoran had given the choice back to him, Yi Junan closed his eyes and thought carefully for a while. Then, he gave a condition that he thought was very sincere. However, whether it was Emperor Qin, Qin Lingfei, or Ting Yunjie, they couldn't help but shake their heads in disappointment. Ha ha! Hearing Yi Junan's condition, Yu Haoran couldn't help but laugh. A day ago, I used a level 6 spiritual vein and 9 level 7 spiritual veins to increase the concentration of spiritual qi on the mountain where the sect is located. I have a secret method to transform into a 1,000-meter giant. It can allow my body to directly withstand the attack of a superior Saint Realm sword. When I meet a close friend, the lowest grade of the mental cultivation method and martial skills I give them is at the upper level of the heaven level. As an alchemy grandmaster who can refine the supreme Huazuan pill, as long as I open the furnace to refine the pill, the lowest grade of the spiritual medicine I use is level 3 first level. At this point, Yu Haoran put away the ridicule on his face and asked angrily, Yi Junan, you are sending a beggar away. Although he wanted to mock Yu Haoran for his big words just now, his current expression and the calmness in his tone just now were enough to prove that what he said just now was not false. Chapter 1191. In the forbidden area of the Imperial Palace of Xianyang City. After thinking for nearly a minute, Yi Junan opened his eyes and said, 3 drops of 1,000 drug milk, an earth elemental pearl that can merge with the earth, and a 4th-rank 9th-grade Yiming fruit. Hearing Yi Junan's second offer, not only was Yu Haoran tempted, but even Emperor Qin showed a look of desire in his eyes. The 1,000 drug milk was a drop of essence from 1,000 kinds of spiritual herbs. Using a special condensation method, it was purified continuously for 81 days. The 1,000 drug milk could not only greatly improve one's cultivation and strength, but also increase one's potential. Its effect was comparable to that of a 3rd-rank 9th-grade elixir. Only a top sect with a heritage of hundreds of thousands of years, like the Heavenly Martial sect, could have enough energy and financial resources to purify the 1,000 drug milk. The Earth Elemental Pearl was a treasure of the Earth element, a spiritual treasure bred by heaven and earth. With the Earth Elemental Pearl, one's body could merge with the earth about 10,000 meters underground. It was a must-have item to avoid the enemy's pursuit and steal treasures. The Yiming fruit contained a huge amount of pure mysterious Yin Qi. Like the blue blood dark Yin flower, it could improve the grade of the mysterious Yin soul fire. Yu Haoran, can these 3 treasures be enough for you to save the ancestor? Yi Junan asked calmly. But from his action of clenching his teeth, one could tell his heartache and unwillingness at this time. In response, Yu Haoran turned his head to look at Qin Lingfei, and finally stepped back into the room. Then, he sat down cross-legged and began to take out 9 kinds of herbs between 4th rank and 5th rank from the storage ring. He began to refine the elixir that could eliminate the efficacy of the soul-calming pill and consolidate the sea of consciousness. In fact, whether it was the 1,000 drug milk or the Earth Elemental Pearl, although they made him excited, he would never let Yi Junan go easily. However, the Yiming fruit was as important as charcoal in snowy weather for Qin Lingfei. If the dark underworld fruit was paired with the blue blood dark Yin flower, not only would the dark Yin soul fire in her body be promoted to a higher grade, it would also help her body's grade and her origin power to break through to the martial honorable realm. A breakthrough in the realms of her fleshly body and origin energy would allow her to easily advance into the top 100 in the upcoming Southern Region competition, and then accompany him to participate in the final competition of the 5 regions to obtain the blessing of the hidden dragon karmic luck. This was the main reason why he decided to let Yi Junan go. The grade of the pills used to eliminate the soul-calming pill was not very high. It only took less than 20 minutes to produce 9 pills. After getting up, Yu Haoran stepped to the bedside of Yuan Zhu. After taking the initiative to help him take the medicinal pill, he began to observe the changes in the sea of consciousness. The result was also as he expected. After the medicinal power of the tranquil soul pill disappeared, the origin ancestor's sea of consciousness gradually recovered to normal. After retreating to Qin Lingfei's side, Yu Haoran took out a rank 3, grade 9 7 treasures soul recovery pill and flicked it to Ting Yunjie as he instructed. Senior brother Ting, give this medicinal pill to your ancestor. In at most 10 minutes, he will be able to recover to his original state. Although he could not recognize the origin and grade of the medicinal pill in his hand, Ting Yunjie also knew that the medicinal pill in his hand was not of a low grade through the huge medicinal power contained in the medicinal pill. Therefore, before taking the medicinal pill for Yuan Zhu, he could not help but ask, "Junior brother Yu, what grade of medicinal pill is this?" Rank 3, grade 9 7 treasures soul recovery pill. Yu Haoran replied faintly. Z. After hearing Yu Haoran's reply, Emperor Qin and Yi Junan could not help but gasp. As the one who was closer to Yu Haoran, Emperor Qin could not help but ask for alchemy. Prince Consort, did you refine the 7 treasures soul recovery pill by yourself? The 7 treasures soul recovery pill, the bone fusion pill, and the eternal creation pill were known as the 3 sacred healing pills in the Tianqian continent. Among them, the 7 treasures soul recovery pill was aimed at the sea of consciousness and divine soul, the bone fusion pill was aimed at the dantian and original energy, and the eternal creation pill was aimed at the physical body. The rank 3, grade 9 7 treasures soul recovery pill could heal nearly 80% of the injuries in the sea of consciousness and divine soul of martial artists below the realm of Emperor Wu. It was the life-saving medicinal pill that all martial sages and martial venerables yearned for the most. That's right. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran turned his head to look at Yi Junan. His tone carried a trace of complaint. If Yuan Zhu had not misused the soul-calming pill, he would not have needed the 7 treasures soul recovery pill at all. Then, he took out 3 7 treasures soul recovery pills from the storage ring and gave one each to Emperor Qin, Qin Lingfei, and Ting Yunjie. He said in an indifferent tone, "It's my first time refining the 7 treasures soul recovery pill. Not only did I refine 9 pills, but they all reach the rank 3, grade 9. They are not too precious to me." In fact, what he said just now was just to provoke Yi Junan and make him regret offending him. As one of the 3 famous sacred healing pills in the Tianqian continent, the 7 treasures soul recovery pill was not so easy to refine. Even if he used the void essence coagulation technique, the success rate was less than 10%. Of course, the reason why he dared to boast was that his first clone would completely return before the start of the Hidden Dragon role battle in the South region. At that time, he would have enough confidence to back up the boast he had made just now. Originally, he wanted to return the 7 treasures soul recovery pill in his hand, but when he saw Yu Haoran's indifferent tone, Ting Yunjie happily put away the pill, then stepped in front of Yuan Zhu and helped him take the 7 treasures soul recovery pill. In an instant, he stood in front of Qin Lingfei, and at the same time, he activated the ancestral witch's body and the Rui Bell in his soul to form a double defense. Just when Qin Lingfei was puzzled by Yu Haoran's actions, just as the 7 treasures soul recovery pill entered Yuan Zhu's body, a terrifying aura was instantly stimulated. After sensing the bloodline in Ting Yunjie's body, the terrifying aura directly avoided him, and then fiercely pressed on Yu Haoran, Qin Lingfei, Emperor Qin, and Yi Junan. Although he had used all his defensive means, in the face of the terrifying aura of the quasi-Emperor Wu realm, Yu Haoran was still shaken back 3 steps. Fortunately, the intelligent Qin Lingfei immediately mobilized Yuan Qi and soul power to give him stronger support, allowing him to finally block the pressure of the terrifying aura. Emperor Qin, who knew and was familiar with Yu Haoran, vaguely guessed the change in Yuan Zhu when he saw him suddenly standing in front of Ling Fei. Therefore, he also took out his Emperor-level sword in time, and with the Emperor's power emitted by the Emperor-level sword, he barely resisted the majesty of the terrifying aura. Yi Junan, who was unprepared and weak, was directly blasted back more than 10 steps by the terrifying aura, and then slammed into the wall of the specially made room. The double impact of the terrifying aura and the wall's rebound made him spit out 3rd-rank blood, and his face instantly turned pale. "Ancestor, I'm Yunjie, and everyone in the room is on our side." After seeing the terrifying aura emitted by his ancestor and the indiscriminate attack, Ting Yunjie immediately reminded him. Chapter 1192. Xianyang City, Imperial Palace, Forbidden Area. Reaching out to hold Yu Haoran's hand, Qin Lingfei looked at him with eyes full of tenderness. At the moment of danger, Yu Haoran had immediately stood in front of her to protect her. This was enough to prove his most sincere love for her. How could Qin Lingfei not be moved? Emperor Qin looked at Yu Haoran with eyes full of appreciation and relief, thinking that he had not chosen the wrong man for his precious daughter to entrust her life to. Yi Junan, on the other hand, looked at everyone in the room with a gloomy face, his hands inside his sleeves clenching. As if sensing Yi Junan's hostility, Yu Haoran suddenly turned his head and looked at him without saying a word. Taking a deep breath and suppressing the resentment in his heart, Yi Junan took out the pill bottle containing the 1,000 drug milk, the wooden box containing the underworld fruit, and the earth elemental bead from his storage ring and directly threw them to Yu Haoran. After receiving the 3 treasures, Yu Haoran put away the 1,000 drug milk and the earth elemental bead, then handed the wooden box containing the underworld fruit to Qin Lingfei. Lingfei, as the underworld fruit contains cold yin qi, it can greatly increase the grade of your profound yin soul fire and effectively increase your cultivation and strength. Without any hesitation, Qin Lingfei accepted the wooden box with a blissful expression. Lingfei, for the time being, don't use the underworld fruit to increase the grade of your profound yin soul fire. Seeing Qin Lingfei obediently receive the wooden box, Yu Haoran nodded with satisfaction. But thinking that the underworld fruit and the 3rd stage first-grade bloodshed profound yin flower could truly transform her cultivation and strength, he hurriedly exhorted. On the day of our wedding, I will give you a treasure even more precious than the underworld fruit. At that time, the 2 treasures will be even more effective when taken together. Nodding, Qin Lingfei did not say much, but held Yu Haoran's broad and powerful hand more tightly. Taking a deep breath and then slowly exhaling, Yuan Zhu, who was lying flat on the bed, slowly opened his eyes. Ancestor, you're awake. Seeing that Yuan Zhu's breath had calmed down and his face was ruddy again, Ting Yunjie was so excited that he almost cried. Yunjie, thank you for your hard work. After sitting cross-legged, Yuan Zhu looked at Ting Yunjie with a kind face and comforted. It's not hard. After hearing Yuan Zhu's comfort, Ting Yunjie immediately shook his head. As long as you're safe and sound, I'm as willing to do anything. Reaching out and stroking Ting Yunjie's head, a trace of relief flashed in Yuan Zhu's eyes. Then, he looked at Yi Junan, who still had a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth. His eyes flashed with dissatisfaction. However, when his gaze landed on Yu Haoran, the dissatisfaction in his eyes was replaced by kindness as he spoke in a gentle tone. You must be the person who saved me. Yuan Zhu, this is Yu Haoran, junior brother Yu. He is an alchemy grandmaster who can refine Supreme Weiren Pill and 7 Treasures Resurrection Pill. At the same time, he is Princess Ling Fei's husband and His Majesty's most valued son-in-law. Seeing that Yuan Zhu had noticed Yu Haoran, Ting Yunjie immediately introduced him in detail. Yu Zongshi, thank you. For Yuan Zhu, whose cultivation was at the quasi-Emperor Wu realm, the Supreme Weiren Pill that could help him break through to the martial Venerable realm was no longer too tempting. However, he was also very tempted by the 7 Treasures Resurrection Pill, one of the 3 major healing panaceas in the Tianxian continent. After all, after one reached quasi-martial emperor, one would normally go out for experiential training either in the 10 Great Forbidden Lands, known as the 10 Great Forbidden Lands, or in the incredibly dangerous Boundless Void. If he had a 7 Treasures Resurrection Pill that could heal his sea of consciousness and divine soul, his chances of survival would be greatly improved. Senior, you don't have to be so polite. With my friendship with Senior Brother Ting, I should help. Faced with Yuan Zhu, whose cultivation had reached the quasi-Emperor Wu realm, Yu Haoran quickly let go of Qin Lingfei's hand and said politely. Also, Senior, you don't have to call me Yu Zongshi. You can just call me by my name. Okay. Facing Yu Haoran's modesty and politeness, Yuan Zhu nodded appreciatively and closed his eyes. Only 3 seconds later, Yuan Zhu, who had reopened his eyes, had 2 more things in his hand. This is a 10,000-year-old blood spirit ginseng that can help your Yuanli break through to the martial Venerable realm as soon as possible. Consider it as my thanks for saving my life, Yuan Zhu explained with a smile as he handed a wooden box directly to Yu Haoran. In fact, when he saw Yuan Zhu take out the 2 wooden boxes, Yu Haoran had already guessed his intention and wanted to refuse to accept the gift. But when he heard that the treasure in the first wooden box was a 10,000-year-old blood spirit ginseng, he swallowed the words of refusal that were on the tip of his tongue. Because in the special elixir that he wanted to use the 1,000 drug milk to refine, the most important auxiliary medicinal material was the 10,000-year-old blood spirit ginseng, which was one of the reasons why he returned to the primeval forest. Unfortunately, there was no 10,000-year-old blood spirit ginseng in the primeval forest. "Thank you, Senior." Reaching out to take the wooden box, Yuhauran thanked him. "This is a 9-color lotus that has reached the 9th rank of the 3rd rank. I hope to exchange it for a 3-level 9th rank 7 treasures resurrection pill." After seeing that Yuhauran agreed to accept the 10,000-year-old blood spirit ginseng, Yuan Zhu secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and the smile on his face became wider. Then, he directly opened the wooden box in his hand and introduced it to Yuhauran expectantly. Slightly shocked, Yuhauran looked up at Yuan Zhu with a thoughtful look in his eyes. After thinking for nearly 5 minutes, Yuhauran took out a 7 treasures resurrection pill from the storage ring and sent it to Yuan Zhu by wrapping it with Yuan Qi. "Thank you." Reaching out to take the 7 treasures resurrection pill, Yuan Zhu thanked him with a smile and sent the 9-color lotus in his hand to Yuhauran. "Senior, if you can find any 3 of superb 9 vine, 9 leaves flower, 9 clover jade ganoderma, 9 lives pangolin, 9 death's water, 9 heavens jade ichor, 9 heavens supreme mystery grass, and 9 earth's soul ginseng, then I will give you one of the refined elixirs." After taking the 3-level 9th rank 9-color lotus and sending it to Victor, Yuhauran looked straight into Yuan Zhu's eyes and said, "Yuhauran, is this true?" After hearing the conditions given by Yuhauran, Yuan Zhu stood up in shock and asked with a slightly trembling voice, "If you don't believe it, I swear by the rules of heaven." Yuhauran solemnly promised, "You don't need to swear by the rules of heaven. I believe in your character." Yuan Zhu waved his hand and said with a firm attitude. Then, he took a deep breath and asked with a dignified look, "Yuhauran, how sure are you that you can refine it?" "Within a year, 10%. In the face of Yuan Zhu's confirmation, Yuhauran said confidently. Chapter 1193. In the Imperial Palace of Xianyang City, in the Forbidden Area. Why? The time span was not very long, but the success rate of the final pill was very different, which made Yuan Zhu feel very puzzled. "Pill Emperor." Yuhauran only said 2 words, and it made Ancestor Yuan's mood immediately excited. His eyes were full of respect when he looked at him. "How many pills can be formed in the end?" Yuan Zhu took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing the excitement in his heart, and continued to ask. "Within a year, at most 2. After thinking about it for a while, Yuhauran still replied confidently. "More than a year, at least 3. Yuhauran, if I can provide 6 of the 8 spiritual medicines, can I get 1 more pill?" After hearing Yuhauran's reply, Yuan Zhu asked carefully. In the face of Yuan Zhu's request, Yuhauran's eyes showed a trace of hesitation. However, thinking that the deeper the understanding of the nihility pill condensation technique, the more pills there would be in the end. Moreover, the number of pills he needed was not much, so he finally nodded and agreed. "Senior, if more than 3 pills are formed in the end, you may get 2 pills. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." After getting Yuhauran's consent, Yuan Zhu, who almost lost control of his emotions, took 2 deep breaths, and then said thank you 3 times. This made Emperor Qin and others at the scene feel puzzled, but at the same time, they were very interested in the pill Yuhauran intended to refine. "Ancestor, what kind of pill is it?" Relying on the ancestors doting on him, Ting Yunjie asked directly. "Hauran, what kind of pill do you want to refine?" Qin Lingfei also wanted to know the origin of the pill that could cause Yuan Zhu to almost lose control of his emotions. "Shut up." In the face of Ting Yunjie's inquiry, Yuan Zhu directly changed his face and shouted. Ling Fei, although this kind of pill is prepared for you in advance, your current cultivation is too low, so it's not good to know in advance. Although Yu Haoran's attitude was not as intense as Yuan Zu's, he also did not reveal the origin of the elixir he intended to refine. The reason was as he had just explained. Ting Yunjie had a bitter expression on his face, and did not say anything else. Qin Lingfei held his hand again with a face full of happiness. Senior, although the Seven Treasures soul-returning pill is a panacea for healing the sea of consciousness and the divine soul, you've been injured for too long. I'm afraid you still need to adjust your breathing to fully recover. Yu Haoran had finished what he needed to do, so there was no point in continuing to stay, other than wasting time. Therefore, Yu Haoran took his leave. Furthermore, I still need to readjust my state in order to complete my agreement with Senior Brother Ting and refine a third-stage first-grade 7 lives profound gate pill for him. Therefore, I will take my leave for now. Hearing that Yu Haoran planned to refine the 7 lives mysterious gate pill recently, Ancestor Yuan's eyes flashed, and he quickly nodded in agreement. Yu Haoran, go ahead and prepare. If you need anything, just tell everyone in the Heavenly Martial Sect, including me. Moreover, when you open the furnace to refine the 7 lives mysterious gate pill, I will personally guard you. Thank you, Senior. After cupping his hands and thanking him, Yu Haoran took Qin Lingfei's hand and left the room. However, when he passed by Yi Junan, he suddenly paused and then couldn't help but shake his head and sigh in disappointment. After leaving the forbidden area of the palace, Qin Lingfei shook Yu Haoran's arm and asked with a puzzled face, Haoran, why did you shake your head and sigh at sect leader Yi just now? Nothing, it's just very interesting. Yu Haoran said something that made Qin Lingfei even more confused. However, seeing that Yu Haoran had no intention to explain further, she did not continue to ask. In the Zhou clan's meeting hall, the current clan leader of the Zhou clan, Zhou Yuz, sat on the wide dragon chair in the main hall. Below him sat 4 white-haired elders with auras as deep as the sea. As for Zhou Zhiga, who had interacted with Yu Haoran before, he stood carefully in the hall and occasionally raised his head to look at the dignified clan leader. Level 3 Supreme Huashao Pill, Level 3, Level 1 7 Lives Mysterious Gate Pill, Level 3, Level 9 7 Treasures Soul Returning Pill. Zhou Yuz, who was holding a communication jade talisman in his hand, muttered to himself with an inexplicable smile on his face. Even if my Zhou clan's alchemy genius was at its peak, he would not be able to easily refine these 3 top-notch pills when he was in the alchemy grandmaster realm. Yu Haoran may be the number 1 alchemy genius since Laozi's time in the Middle Ages. After hearing Zhou Yu's evaluation of Yu Haoran, Zhou Zhiga could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. The 4 white-haired elders who had their eyes closed opened their eyes at the same time and raised their heads to look at Zhou Yuz. Zhiga, is Yu Haoran really not interested in Ningyi? Zhou Yuz asked with a smile as he flicked the communication jade talisman in his hand to a white-haired elder with a benevolent expression sitting on the lower left. If it's the clan leader, he really has no interest at all. After hearing Zhou Yuz's interrogation, Zhou Zhiga immediately explained nervously. At that time, Ningyi took off her silk veil in front of Yu Haoran alone and revealed her most beautiful and gentle side. However, Yu Haoran's reaction was very cold. According to my judgment as an experienced person, there is no hope between the two of them. It seems that Ningyi is still not beautiful and charming enough. After hearing Zhou Zhiga's explanation, Zhou Yuz commented self-righteously. Subsequently, he looked at the second white-haired elder on the lower right and asked with a tone of discussion. Old ancestor Feng Su, I wonder if Qianyi has someone in mind? Clan leader, Qianyi will definitely take down Yu Haoran and complete the clan's great undertaking. Old ancestor Feng Su's eyes flashed with a trace of displeasure as he gave a guarantee against his will. Ignoring the displeasure in old ancestor Feng Su's eyes, Zhou Yu's ordered with a smile, "In that case, the people who will go to Xianying City to attend the ceremony will be personally selected by old ancestor Feng Su." "Yes." Old ancestor Feng Su nodded his head and got up to leave the meeting hall. "Disperse." Zhou Yu's who also got up and left the dragon throne indicated. "Grand Elder, please wait." Just as the three white-haired elders and Zhou Zhiga got up and prepared to leave the meeting hall, Zhou Yu suddenly spoke to the white-haired elder, who had just received the communication jade talisman. "Grand Elder, go to the clan's secret vault and retrieve a treasure as a congratulatory gift for Yu Haoran's wedding." Zhou Yu's instructed the Grand Elder who remained in the hall. "Clan leader, could it be that you plan to personally attend Yu Haoran's wedding?" the Grand Elder asked with a slightly moved expression. "That's right." Chapter 1194. Xianying City, EU Palace. Prince Consort, His Majesty hopes that you can temporarily postpone the refining of the 7 Lives Profound Gate pill to avoid unpredictable changes. Director Jiang, who was standing respectfully in the living room, discussed with a pleading tone. "Director Jiang, have you found out who leaked the news that I plan to refine the 7 Lives Profound Gate pill tomorrow?" Yu Haoran, who was sitting on the armchair, asked with a frown while enjoying Qin Lingfei's shoulder massage. "No." After hearing Yu Haoran's interrogation, a trace of hesitation flashed through Director Jiang's eyes. But in the end, he shook his head to indicate that he didn't know. Yi Junan. After reaching out and picking up a 7th-rank first-grade purple cherry fruit and throwing it directly into his mouth, Yu Haoran sneered and said a name. In this regard, Director Jiang lowered his head and didn't say anything. "Director Jiang, go back and report to His Majesty that I will not change my decision. Tomorrow morning, I will open the furnace on time to refine the pill." Director Jiang lowered his head and didn't say anything, which directly confirmed his guess. In this regard, not only was Yu Haoran not angry, he was secretly happy in his heart. Then, he expressed to Director Jiang that he would definitely not change his decision to refine the pill. "Prince Consort, the Empress Dowager hasn't returned yet. With only the Emperor and the Ancestor, I'm afraid they won't be able to resist some people with bad intentions." Hearing that Yu Haoran still insisted on opening the furnace tomorrow morning, Director Jiang continued to persuade him anxiously. "It's fine." Raising his hand to indicate that Director Jiang didn't need to say anything, Yu Haoran said confidently. "Director Jiang, actually, the reason why I opened the furnace in advance to refine the 7 Lives Profound Gate pill is just to complete the agreement between me and Senior Brother Ting. After the pill tribulation, no matter how many pills are formed in the end, I only need to leave 1 pill for others. As for the remaining pills, whoever wants to snatch them can snatch them. Prince Consort, you can't." Upon hearing Yu Haoran's plan to deal with the remaining medicinal pills, Director Jiang's expression changed drastically as he tried to persuade him. On the other hand, the person who can snatch the 7 Lives Mysterious Gate pill must be a peerless expert at the peak of the martial honorable realm, as well as an almighty expert who is about to reach the level of Emperor Wu. If experts of this level were to fight for the pills, the aftermath of the battle would definitely destroy the entire Imperial Palace, or even the entire Xianying City. Chief Steward Jiang, who said that I was refining pills in the palace. After hearing Director Jiang's anxious persuasion, Yu Haoran shrugged and asked in a helpless tone. "Then where does the Prince Consort plan to start refining pills?" After hearing Yu Haoran's helpless question, Chief Steward Jiang secretly heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he also developed a strong interest in the place he chose to refine pills. Hengduan Mountains. The corners of Yu Haoran's mouth rose slightly as he replied with a strange smile. "This old servant understands." Nodding his head, Director Jiang seemed to have guessed the reason why Yu Haoran chose the Hengduan Mountains to refine the 7 Lives Mysterious Gate pill. because under the witness of the heavenly Tao law, Yu Haoran had single-handedly exterminated 11 quasi-honorable realm beasts in the Hengduan Mountains. It could be said that this was the beginning of Yu Haoran's fame in the Tianxian continent. It could also be said that this was his blessed land. He probably wanted to use this blessed land to increase the success rate of refining the 7 Lives Mysterious Gate pill. Seeing that Director Jiang misunderstood his intentions, Yu Haoran only chuckled and did not explain too much. The edge of the Hengduan Mountains. Looking at the Hengduan Mountains that was completely enveloped by black smoke, Yu Haoran's eyes flashed with a cold light. After successfully completing the blood oath of the heavenly Tao law and killing all the quasi-honorable realm beasts, the entire Hengduan Mountains could be said to be his backyard. The countless treasures in the mountains could be freely taken by him and his friends and relatives. However, all of this was destroyed by the sudden appearance of the Grade 7 Black Lotus. He was quite narrow-minded and vengeful, so he had never forgotten the idea of eliminating the Grade 7 Black Lotus. Now, with the opportunity of refining the 7 Lives Mysterious Gate pill to attract powerful experts like the Martial Venerable and the soon-to-be Emperor Wu, he could take revenge and eliminate the last flaw in his state of mind cultivation. Then, he could break through to the Martial Venerable realm in his physical body, origin power, law, and soul power in his peak state. Retracting the cold light that flashed in his eyes from time to time, Yu Haoran turned his head and ordered Ting Yunjie, "Senior Brother Ting, give me the medicinal ingredients for refining the 7 Lives Mysterious Gate pill." "Junior Brother Yu, it won't affect your refining, right?" Pointing at the black gas that emitted an evil aura in front of him, Ting Yunjie reminded him worriedly. "It won't affect me at all." Yu Haoran smiled and comforted him. "All right." Since Yu Haoran said that it didn't matter, Ting Yunjie didn't try to persuade him anymore. He directly took out 2 sets of medicinal ingredients that he had already prepared and handed them to Yu Haoran. "Ling Fei, Senior Brother Ting, you guys just stay here and watch. Don't enter the Hengduan mountain range." After receiving the storage ring, Yu Haoran reminded Qin Lingfei and Ting Yunjie. "Haoran, you be careful too." Qin Lingfei nodded meekly and reminded him. He turned around and soared into the sky, flying directly to the depths of the Hengduan mountain range. Then, he lowered his head and looked at the deep pit that was constantly emitting black gas. Yu Haoran sneered and muttered to himself, "Grade 7 Black Lotus. When the pill tribulation comes, I don't believe that you can continue to hide in the deep pit. When more than 10 martial venerables and powerhouses who are about to reach the Emperor Wu's realm join forces to attack, I don't believe that you can still hold on." After taking a deep breath and adjusting the hatred that had just emerged in his heart, Yu Haoran sat cross-legged in midair with his knees bent. Then, he closed his eyes and waited silently. When the sun rose in the east and everything in the world began to awaken, Yu Haoran suddenly opened his eyes. Then, he quickly formed a seal with his 10 fingers and began to use the pill condensation technique to condense the space of the Dantian fire. Ever since his mental cultivation had broken through to the martial venerable realm and Thaling was no longer as cautious as before, he was no longer too afraid to expose the existence of the pill condensation technique. Moreover, he also wanted to use the power and mystery of the pill condensation technique to further enhance his deterrence in the art of alchemy, so that some people with bad intentions would have scruples. This was also the main reason why he exposed the pill condensation technique in front of Ting Yunjie and Yi Junan. Otherwise, with Yi Junan's character and methods, how could he easily swallow the humiliation he had suffered? As Yu Haoran sat cross-legged in the sky above the Hengduan mountain range, some martial venerables and Emperor Wu-level ancestors who had rushed over in time were all hidden in the void. They quietly watched Yu Haoran, who was quickly forming a seal with his 10 fingers, preparing to refine the 7 Lives Mysterious Gate pill. Chapter 1195. Hengduan Mountain Range in the Sky. Qianyi, Ancestor Xian knows you look down on Yu Haoran and are unwilling to tie the knot with him from the bottom of your heart. But for the great cause of the Zhou clan, for the sake of awakening the ancestor who is in deep slumber, you have no choice but to sacrifice your own happiness. Ancestor Feng Su saw that the pill concoction technique Yu Haoran was familiar with was actually the nothingness pill congealing technique, which was created by the number 1 pill concoction master of the Middle Ages. Ancestor Feng Su suddenly thought of Patriarch Zhou Yu's evaluation of Yu Haoran, and a feeling of admiration abruptly arose in his heart. The trace of discomfort that had accumulated in his heart instantly disappeared, and he started to take the initiative to persuade his great-great-granddaughter, Zhou Qianyi. Ancestor Xian, you know Qianyi already has someone she likes, and it's simply impossible for her to accept another man. After hearing Ancestor Feng Su's persuasion, a charming young girl who was graceful like a swimming dragon refused with a face full of grievances. A mere small clan that has existed for less than 100,000 years. A trash that's already 20 years old and has just broken through to the martial saint realm. What qualifications does he have to marry my Zhou clan's precious daughter? After hearing Qianyi mention her beloved, Ancestor Feng Su immediately ridiculed with a face full of disdain. Ancestor Xian, I won't allow you to belittle brother you like this. After hearing Ancestor Feng Su ridicule her beloved, Qianyi immediately berated him with dissatisfaction. Qianyi, Ancestor Xian will tell you the truth. Ancestor Feng Su's expression instantly became gloomy when he saw his most beloved great-great-granddaughter actually berate him for a trash-like man. Ancestor Feng Su raised his head to look at Yu Haoran, who was quickly refining the medicinal ingredients, and spoke with an unquestionable tone with an expressionless face. If Yu Haoran hadn't used the nothingness pill congealing technique, I, Ancestor Feng Su, would have given up my old face to ask the Patriarch, and perhaps he would have considered arranging for another woman of the clan. But now, after speaking up to here, Ancestor Feng Su turned his head to look at his great-great-granddaughter, and his eyes flashed with a cold light from time to time as he threatened. If you don't agree, then the Patriarch will send people to directly slaughter all 97,654 people of the Xiang clan, including the 37 newborns. After hearing Ancestor Feng Su's threat, Qianyi's complexion turned pale as she took a few steps back. Her eyes were filled with fear. Seeing that his threat had frightened Qianyi, old Ancestor Feng Su couldn't help but let out a soft sigh, then said in a gentle tone, Qianyi, according to my understanding, not only does Yu Haoran possess shocking talent in alchemy, but his own martial arts are also very outstanding. At the same time, he is also a person who values relationships very much. Choosing to become his woman might be a better choice for you. Why me? Patriarch Feng Su's consolation caused the fear in Qianyi's eyes to gradually dissipate. However, her heart was filled with unwillingness. She couldn't help but raise her head and question Ancestor Xian. Because of your beauty, your martial talent, and your soft body, you have a fatal temptation to Yu Haoran. You have the qualifications to complete the clan's great undertaking. Ancestor Feng Su spoke the truth. Ancestor Xian, if we're talking about beauty, martial talent, and soft body, then I'm afraid the Patriarch's most beloved young Miss Mengling is more suitable. The reason for arranging for her to marry Yu Haoran was actually because of her own external conditions. After hearing Ancestor Xian speak the truth, Qianyi couldn't help but sneer and provoke him. Qianyi, if you fail this time, then on the day of Yu Haoran's wedding, the Patriarch will bring Mengling to attend the wedding. Facing Qianyi's provocation, Ancestor Feng Su spoke with an indifferent expression. For the sake of the clan's great undertaking, the Patriarch was actually willing to sacrifice his most beloved daughter. Qianyi was completely stunned by Ancestor Feng Su's words. After the shock, a thought instantly flashed through Qianyi's mind. A plan to get rid of being married to Yu Haoran. But just as she was secretly delighted that she was able to think of this flawless plan, Ancestor Feng Su's next sentence made her feel cold from head to toe. If young Miss Mengling becomes Yu Haoran's woman, then you and Ningyi will be the dowry girls and stay by Yu Haoran and young Miss Mengling's side forever. Her face that had just recovered instantly turned pale, and the ruthless blow made Qian Yi shed tears of sadness. As a 7 lives profound gate pill that could assist a quasi-Emperor Wu to cross the heart tribulation, it was different from refining the supreme Huazuan pill. The difference was not how difficult it was to refine the 7 lives profound gate pill, but that the amount of medicinal herbs refined during the initial refinement was too large. Although the nihility pill condensation technique could increase the refining speed by more than 10 times, the amount of medicinal herbs that were as many as 108 kinds of medicinal herbs still made Yu Haoran's consumption very large. Using the pill fire to temporarily warm the spiritual liquid, he directly swallowed the 2 pills that he had pressed under the tip of his tongue in advance, and tightly held the 2 4th stage 9th rank spirit stones that he had prepared beforehand. After his spirit power and soul power returned to their peak, he continued to form seals with his 10 fingers and began the first key step of refining the pill, condensing the pill. Just as Yu Haoran used the nihility pill condensation technique to condense the spiritual liquid, the amount of black gas that continuously emerged from the deep pit below began to gradually increase, and gradually began to boil. Accompanied by the boiling black gas, one after another slightly dim black shadows rushed out from the deep pit, and then quickly rushed into the Hengduan mountain range, blending into the dense black gas. Unfortunately, whether it was the Thaling in the Sea of Consciousness, or the patriarchs of the inherited families and sects hidden in the void, their attention had always been on Yu Haoran. No one noticed the unforeseen event in the deep pit of the mountain range. After the most time-consuming refining of the medicinal herbs was completed, the remaining process of condensing the pill and dividing the pills was not very different from refining the supreme Huazuan pill, so Yu Haoran quickly succeeded in dividing the pills into 9 pills. Next was the most important step of the entire pill refining process, and that was the process of nourishing the pills after dividing the pills. As the 9 pills in the space of the Dantian fire began to draw in and devour large amounts of spiritual energy, the black gas in the Hengduan mountain range was also drawn in and devoured by the 9 pills. His expression changed slightly, and Yu Haoran directly stood up and took a few steps back. After that, he looked at the black gas that was continuously flowing into the space of the Dantian fire with a serious expression. Something's not right. Thaling in the Sea of Consciousness also looked at the 9 pills that were devouring the black gas, and his brows were tightly furrowed, and his voice was filled with doubt. Although the black gas that the grade 7 Black Lotus emits belongs to one of the myriad types of energy, it's not suitable for increasing the inner energy of the pills at all. After hearing Thaling's detailed analysis of the black gas, a light flashed through Yu Haoran's mind. He thought of a special demonic pill, and immediately used all of his consciousness to seal the space of the Dantian fire. Chapter 1196. In the Void of the Hengduan Mountain Range. 9 Devil Gathering Pills. Yu Haoran gritted his teeth and said as he looked at the 9 pills in the space of his Dantian fire. The 9 pills that were originally crystal clear had become completely pitch black after fusing with 9 strands of dark energy that made his heart palpitate. 9 Devil Gathering Pills. After hearing Yu Haoran gnashing his teeth and saying the changes of the pills, Thaling in his Sea of Consciousness pondered carefully and still asked with some confusion. Yu Haoran, I remember that you made an agreement with the Ting family's ancestor to refine the 2nd rank 1st grade 9 spirit gathering pills. Is there any special connection between these 2 pills that have very similar names? Between the 9 spirit gathering pills and the 9 devil gathering pills, there is a world of difference in essence and grade, but there are also similarities in their effects. After hearing the tower spirit's question, Yuhauran looked at the 9 pills, which were becoming brighter and brighter as they devoured more and more black gas, and explained with a complicated expression. 9 spirit gathering pills are second-rank first-grade pills with the same effect as the Supreme Huazuan pill. It can help powerhouses at the peak of the 9th-rank Martial Venerable Realm and the Quasi-Emperor Realm to break through to the Emperor Wu Realm by 50%. 9 Devil Gathering pills don't have a fixed pill formula and grade, and the effect of assisting in breaking through to the next realm is uncertain. Speaking of this, Yuhauran lowered his head and looked at the mountain range that was gradually revealing its inner shape because a large amount of black gas was being devoured by the pills. His eyes flashed with a cold light from time to time as he continued to explain. The 7th-rank Black Lotus used the method of dividing his soul to merge with the 7 Lives Mysterious Gate pills that I refined. While completely changing the quality of the pills, it will also increase the grade of the pills. Yuhauran, what grade will these 9 pills reach in the end? Thaling immediately asked. Between the 7th rank and 9th rank of the 3rd rank, Yuhauran said with some uncertainty. How does it help the 7th-rank Black Lotus? Thaling was surprised to hear the final grade of the 99 magic condensing pellet. He wanted to know the ultimate purpose of the grade 7 Black Lotus to consume his spirit to increase the grade of the pellet. Advance to the 8th grade Black Lotus. After Yuhauran answered Thaling's question, he frowned slightly and a trace of doubt appeared in his eyes. Even if the 99 demonic condensation pill was refined into a rank 3 9th grade pill and helped it advance to the rank 8 grade, Black Lotus's strength would only be equivalent to a peak rank 9 martial saint. According to Thaling's divine sense, there were 9 peerless masters of the martial venerable realm in the void around the Hengduan Mountains, not to mention the 3 almighty masters of the Quasi-Emperor Wu realm. Under such circumstances, Black Lotus did not hesitate to expose his existence and risk using the method of dividing his soul to change the quality and attribute of the 7 Lives Profound Gate pill. Was he not afraid of arousing the greed of the masters hidden in the void, and finally ending up with his spirit destroyed and his body refined into a magic tool? Thinking of how the 7th-rank Black Lotus used a trick to devour his 5th-rank White Lotus, Yuhauran knew that it was not a reckless and impulsive spiritual being that did not care about the consequences. Then why did it do this? When he looked back at the space of the Dantian fire, and saw the pitch-black demonic pellet, an idea suddenly flashed in his mind, and he immediately asked Thaling for help. Thaling, can you use the assistance of the main body Victor to expand the range of the divine sense search? After hearing Yuhauran's request for help, Thaling did not ask the reason for expanding the search range. He directly mobilized 5% of the main body's energy and increased the power of his divine sense by 30%. Yuhauran, in the void 30,000 miles away, there is a first tribulation Quasi-Emperor Wu demonic giant. In less than 5 seconds, Thaling found the demonic powerhouse that was hidden deeper. At the same time, he also guessed the real reason why the 7th-rank Black Lotus took the risk to change the quality and grade of the 7 Lives Profound Gate pill. After being reminded by Thaling, Yuhauran did not feel the slightest tension. Instead, a strange smile appeared on his face. Returning to the independent space of the Dantian fire, he took out 18 poisonous medicinal herbs from the storage ring and threw them directly into the independent space of the Dantian fire. Yuhauran's inexplicable action not only allowed the 7th-rank Black Lotus to quietly reach the edge of the deep pit, but also allowed the demonic giant hidden 30,000 miles away to directly lurk in the void outside the Hengduan Mountains. The 18 medicinal herbs that were thrown into the independent space of the Dantian fire were quickly refined into pure spiritual liquid. Then, under Yuhauran's pill condensation and pill division technique, they became 9 pills that were only 1/3 the size of the 9 demonic gathering pill, but the color was pure white. Yuhauran, what do you want to do? Thaling, who was also confused by Yuhauran's inexplicable actions, couldn't help but ask. Falling, after the pill tribulation, it is time to witness a miracle, Yuharan said with a mysterious smile on his face as he stopped condensing the pill division mark. Then, he mobilized his divine sense to inform the Emperor Qin and Ancestor Yuan, who were hidden in the void, to not intervene in the next pill snatching. The change in quality and the improvement in grade were exchanged for a more violent pill tribulation. Looking at the dark clouds that almost covered the entire Hengduan Mountains for hundreds of thousands of kilometers, Yuharan gradually put away the mysterious smile on his face. After forming a seal with his 10 fingers to put away the independent space of the Dantian fire, he turned back to Qin Lingfei and Ting Yunjie's side and did not intervene in the following matters. Senior brother Ting, don't worry, I will definitely refine a 7 lives mysterious gate pill for Ancestor Yuan. Seeing the worry in Ting Yunjie's eyes, Yuharan smiled and comforted him. Junior brother Yu, our heavenly martial sect still has more than 10 sets of medicinal herbs for refining the 7 lives mysterious gate pill. Seeing that Yuharan had misunderstood his thoughts, Ting Yunjie used the amount of medicinal herbs to show that he had always believed in Yuharan's alchemy ability. Then, pointing at the 9 black pills floating in the air, Ting Yunjie reminded him with a solemn expression. Junior brother Yu, the evil aura emitted by these 9 black pills vaguely gives me a feeling of palpitations, as if a disaster is about to come. Senior brother Ting, your feeling is right. Looking at Ting Yunjie in surprise, Yuharan did not expect his 6th sense to be so outstanding. Then, he put away the surprise in his heart and comforted him with a smile. After the pill tribulation, the disaster will come, but it has nothing to do with us. We just need to watch the show quietly. After hearing Yuharan's comfort, Ting Yunjie immediately realized something. He looked up at the surroundings of the Hengduan Mountains, and a hint of understanding flashed in his eyes. However, when he thought of the ancestor who was secretly guarding, he immediately asked in a low voice, Junior brother Yu, have you informed His Majesty and Ancestor Yuan? Chapter 1197. In the void of the Hengduan mountain range. The dark clouds that shrouded the entire Hengduan mountain range gave people the feeling that the end of the world was coming. This made the martial honors and Emperor Wu experts who were hiding in the void around the Hengduan mountain range quickly send their juniors and disciples 1,000 miles away so that they could deal with the unforeseen event with all their might. Yu Zongshi, I am Bailey Yueran from the Bailey clan of the Central Region. Just as the 9 black elixirs began to withstand the pill tribulation lightning, a silver-haired elder in his 70s suddenly walked out of the void in the east of the Hengduan mountain range. He was dressed in brocade clothes and had snow-white hair. The silver-haired elder cupped his hands and introduced himself to Yuharan, who was standing at the edge of the mountain range. Junior Yuharan greets Senior Bailey. Yuharan quickly greeted Bailey Yueran, who took the initiative to introduce himself, regardless of how much dissatisfaction and resentment he felt towards the Bailey clan and the fact that they were still holding Shin Hokong captive. Great Master Yu, this old man may take the liberty to ask, what is the quality of the pill that you are refining? There was neither the coldness of an alchemist nor the arrogance of a genius. In the face of Yuharan's humble and polite reply, Bailey Yueran looked at him with admiration and regret. If he had known that Yuharan was so outstanding, he would not have chosen the ordinary Bailey King as his marriage partner. Instead, he would have arranged for the first beauty of the Bailey clan, Bailey Zhu. However, his regret was quickly interrupted by the deafening sound of thunder. He then pointed at the 9 black elixirs that were withstanding the lightning strikes and asked. Yuharan did not hide anything from him. He slowly rose into the air and glanced at the void around the Hengduan mountain range. He then pointed at the deep pit in the depths of the mountain range and said, Senior Bailey, there is a level 7 black lotus hidden in the deep pit in the depths of the mountain range. After hearing that there was a level 7 black lotus hidden in the deep pit of the mountain range, Bailey Yueron's eyes immediately flashed with greed. The dozen or so experts hidden in the void also stared at the deep pit with clenched fists, ready to fight for it at any time. Yuharen's finger moved up and pointed at the 9 black pills that were enduring the lightning strike. Actually, the pill that I refined at the beginning was the 3rd rank, 1st rank, 7 lives mysterious gate pill. However, the 7th rank Black Lotus used the soul-splitting technique to change the quality and rank of the pill. Yu Zongshi, I am Lu Xianmin from the Lu clan of the Central Region. Upon hearing that the 9 pills that were being struck by lightning had been changed by the grade 7 Black Lotus, a silver-haired old man walked out of the void on the west side of the Hengduan Mountains. After introducing himself, the silver-haired old man immediately asked, Yu Zongshi, may I know the origin of the pills whose quality and grade have been changed? Junior Yu Haoren greets Senior Lu. Seeing that the silver-haired old man who had just walked out of the void was a peerless martial venerable from the number 1 puppet family in the Tianxian continent, Yu Haoren hurriedly bowed and then told him the types and grades of the 9 pills. The 3rd rank, 9th rank, 99 condensing devil pill. After hearing the name of the pill given by Yu Haoren, Lu Xianmin could not help but frown. This was because he had never heard of such a pill as the 99 condensing devil pill. Yu Zongshi, I'm Zhou Fengshu from the Zhou clan of the Central Region. Just as Yu Haoren pointed out the origin of the 9 black pills, a white-haired old man who looked even older but had an aura as deep as the sea walked out of the void on the north side of the Hengduan Mountains. Yu Haoren, this old man called Zhou Fengshu is a quasi-Emperor Wu powerhouse like the Ting family's great ancestor. Seeing Zhou Fengshu walk out of the void, Thowing in his sea of consciousness immediately raised his voice. Bailey Yueran and Lu Xianmin also quickly nodded and greeted him. Senior Fengshu. Senior Fengshu. Just like how he treated Bailey Yueran, Yu Haoren temporarily put aside his dissatisfaction with the Zhou clan and cupped his hands. Junior Yu Haoren greets Senior Zhou. Zhou Fengshu nodded gently at Yu Haoren and asked with a smile. Yu Zongshi, may I know the difference between the 99 condensing devil pill and the 99 spirit condensing pill? When Zhou Fengshu mentioned the 99 spirit condensing pill, Bailey Yueran and Lu Xianmin looked at each other and noticed the shock in each other's eyes. Faced with Zhou Fenggui's question, Yu Haoren did not hide anything. He explained the difference between the 2 pills to Thowing in detail. Yu Zongshi, can the martial artists from the Alliance of the Righteous Path use the 99 condensing devil pill to improve their cultivation base and strength? After hearing the difference between the 99 condensing devil pill and the 99 spirit condensing pill, Bailey Yueran took a step forward and asked eagerly. It's impossible to simply consume the 99 condensing devil pill. After all, they're 2 completely different types of energy. However, Yu Haoren shook his head and gave an answer that disappointed Bailey Yueran, Lu Xianmin, Zhou Fengshu, and the powerhouses who continued to hide in the void. However, with the change in Yu Haoren's tone, the hearts of the people present immediately rose again. If it can be combined with the 3rd rank 1st grade demonic transformation pill that I just refined, then not only can you directly consume the 99 condensing devil pill, but you can also break through 1 to 3 small realms above the 6th grade martial venerable realm. After hearing Yu Haoren's explanation, the 3 powerhouses at the scene and the few powerhouses hidden in the void looked at the 99 condensing devil pill and the demonic transformation pill with a strong desire. Seeing that the plan had succeeded, Yu Haoren smiled and returned to Qin Lingfei's side. Junior brother Yu, there are also peerless powerhouses in the martial venerable realm in the heavenly martial sect. Why don't you let the ancestor fight for the 99 condensing devil pill and the demonic transformation pill? When Yu Haoren replied to Zhou Fengshu and Bailey Yueran's questions, he did not suppress his voice. Ting Yunjie, who was standing at the edge of the mountain range, also heard it clearly. Therefore, he was very puzzled that Yu Haoran had asked the ancestor and Emperor Qin to withdraw to Xianying City in advance and give up the fight for the 99 condensing devil pill. Senior Brother Ting, when I was in the Yiyuan Pavilion of the Twin Ox Mountain, I said something when I faced tens of thousands of experts and powerhouses fighting for the supreme Huazuan pill. In the face of Ting Yunjie's puzzled questioning, Yu Haoran looked up at the peerless powerhouses and powerful powerhouses who were constantly walking out of the void. A trace of disdain flashed in his eyes as he said, "Since the establishment of the ancient alchemy Dao, no one has ever been able to take away the pill that the alchemist had just refined from his hands. Junior Brother Yu, I understand." Chapter 1198. In the void of the Hengduan mountain range. Although the dark clouds that shrouded the entire Hengduan mountain range made the power of the pill tribulation as if the end of the world had arrived, the 999 demonic condensing pills that merged with the 7th grade Black Lotus split soul not only had more energy condensed inside the pills, but also a trace of consciousness left in the split soul successfully offset a part of the power of the thunder tribulation. 10 minutes later, with the disappearance of the thunder calamity, the thick dark clouds above the Hengduan mountain range gradually dispersed. 9 black pills the size of a baby's fist and 9 pure white pills the size of a longan floated quietly in the air. Damned grade 7 Black Lotus. This young master will definitely not let you off. Looking at the dark clouds that gradually dispersed above the Hengduan mountain range, Yu Haoran cursed with an ugly face. "Haoran, what's wrong with you?" Yu Haoran suddenly cursed in exasperation, which scared Qin Lingfei. She quickly reached out to hold his arm and asked with concern. Lingfei, under normal circumstances, like refining pills that need to pass the thunder tribulation, as an alchemist, after the pill tribulation, he will be rewarded by the heavenly Tao. Facing Qin Lingfei's concern, Yu Haoran took a deep breath and pointed to the cloudless sky and said, "With the power of the 7 lives profound gate pill and the reward of the heavenly Tao after the pill tribulation, it was enough for my cultivation to directly reach the peak of the 9th grade martial saint. But now..." Speaking of this, Yu Haoran looked at the 7th grade Black Lotus that rushed out of the deep pit and was desperately fighting for the 999 demonic condensing pills. It was all destroyed by this damn 7th grade Black Lotus. After the pill tribulation, there is no reward of the heavenly Tao at all. Haoran, don't be angry. After hearing the reason for Yu Haoran's exasperation, Qin Lingfei immediately tried to persuade him. In any case, you'll have to refine the 3rd stage first rank 7 lives profound gate pill again in a while, and you'll be able to obtain the reward of the heavenly Tao's rules again. You don't have to care about temporary gains and losses. Yu Haoran patted Qin Lingfei's jade-like hand, indicating that he was fine. Then, he looked at the grade 7 Black Lotus with eyes filled with hatred. Although the 99 condensing devil pill was refined using the soul fragment of a 7th grade Black Lotus cultivator and the black energy that had been accumulated for nearly 1,000 years, the consciousness of the soul fragment within the pill had long been annihilated by the terrifying lightning tribulation. Therefore, the grade 7 Black Lotus cultivator did not have the upper hand against the 3 quasi-martial honorables and the 9 peerless martial honorables. In the end, he only managed to snatch a 9x9 demonic condensation pill. However, a middle-aged expert who was close to Emperor Wu's level, dressed in a star robe, had not only obtained 3 99 demonic condensation pills, but also 3 demonic transformation pills. Thaling, it seems that your guess was right. The Heavenly Way's rules no longer interfere with the affairs of the Tianxian continent. Yu Haoran said worriedly when he saw that the 11 experts and the grade 7 Black Lotus cultivator had not been punished by the Heavenly Way's rules even though they had unleashed their full strength without any scruples. With the exposure of the pill condensation technique and his own powerful alchemy ability, it was easy to attract the attention of some of the real Emperor Wu's almighty experts. He was worried that without the suppression of the heavenly ways rules, he would very likely become the prey of some of the inherited families. "You Howren, don't worry too much. The situation is not as serious as you think." Thaling knew what Yu Howren was worried about and comforted him with a smile. "Because the heavenly ways rules do not mean that it will not interfere in anything. At least, before the end of the 5 regions hidden dragon ranking competition, the almighty experts of the Emperor Wu's level will not be able to appear." "Really?" Yu Howren asked in disbelief. "Of course," Thaling confirmed with a smile. Just when the 99 magic pill had just passed the Thunder Tribulation, a grade 3 Emperor Wu from the Blue Dragon clan tried to take away all the pills. The heavenly ways rules had already punished him. And the result? It turned out that the almighty expert of the Emperor Wu who wanted to take the pills was from his enemy, the Blue Dragon clan. Yu Howren immediately wanted to know the final result of the punishment by the heavenly ways rules. "His realm has been reduced to the martial venerable realm, and he will need to sleep for 10,000 years to recover." Thaling's tone sounded relaxed, but his expression was serious as he said this. As the heavenly ways rules that supervised all living things in the Tianxian continent, when it was at its peak, even the martial god realm experts who had broken through the life and death realm and enjoyed eternal life could not bear the punishment of the heavenly ways rules, let alone the almighty experts of the Emperor Wu's level. But now, that's great. After hearing the result of the heavenly ways rules, Yu Howren could not help but secretly applaud. His realm had been reduced and he was forced to sleep for 10,000 years. Even if the Blue Dragon clan had a long history, it would still be difficult for them to bear the loss of an almighty expert of the Emperor Wu's level. Screech. Seeing that he had sacrificed 9 divided souls and accumulated energy for nearly 1,000 years to refine the 99 magic pill, 8 of which had been taken away by these despicable humans, the grade 7 Black Lotus roared furiously to the sky. Along with the ear-piercing roar, a terrifying aura descended from the sky and directly enveloped the 3 almighty experts of the Emperor Wu's level who had just taken the 99 magic pill and a peerless expert of the peak of the grade 9 martial venerable realm. A first tribulation demonic path giant of the Emperor Wu's level. Feeling the pressure of the terrifying aura, the strongest middle-aged expert in a star robe muttered to himself with a gloomy face. Along with the muttering of the middle-aged expert in a star robe, a middle-aged expert over 2 meters tall with a very strong physique slowly walked out of the void. Blood Hand Demon Venerable of the Blood Demon Sect. After seeing the middle-aged expert in a blood-red robe walk out of the void, Zhou Fengshu could not help but cry out. The Heavenly Demon Sect, the Earth Demon Sect, and the Blood Demon Sect were known as the 3 holy lands of the demonic path. Their status and strength were not inferior to the 7 top sections. If the 3 sects were to combine into one, they could even suppress the Yushu Temple and not lose to the top families of the inheritance. This was also an important reason why the demonic path, which had been suppressed, could still occupy the northern region. The Blood Hand Demon Venerable was a giant of the demonic path who had become famous 30,000 years ago. He was the 79th sect master of the Blood Demon Sect. With his self-created Blood Demon Hand, he suppressed all the experts of the righteous and demonic path at the same time. He was the true number 1 expert of that time. Didn't the Blood Hand Demon Venerable die of old age 30,000 years ago and was buried in the forbidden area of the Blood Demon Sect? A peerless martial venerable expert from the Flowing Cloud sect retorted in disbelief after hearing Zhou Fengshu's muttering about the origin of the blood-robed old man. In response, a trace of disdain flashed in the eyes of everyone present. Chapter 1199. In the void of the Hengduan mountain range. Compared to Zhou Fengshu and the others, who were unable to calm down after a long time, Xing Pao quickly calmed down and took the initiative to introduce himself. Blood Hand Overlord, this old man's Taoist name is Comet. I'm from the Sky Palace of the Yushu Temple. This was because he hoped to use the deterrence of the Yushu Temple to make Blood Hand Overlord wary. Ga. Seeing that Comet wanted to use the Yushu Temple to suppress him, Blood Hand Overlord let out a strange laugh. Then, he stretched out his skinny, blood-red hand and grabbed Comet. Humph! Comet couldn't help but snort when he saw that Blood Hand Overlord didn't give face to the Yushu Temple and even dared to attack him directly. Then, his entire body suddenly exploded, quickly forming a river of stars. After wrapping around the bloody hand, the galaxy formed by Comet's body quickly rose, intending to wrap Blood Hand Overlord in it. However, when the galaxy was less than 10 meters away from Blood Hand Overlord, an extremely miserable howl was heard from the galaxy. Accompanied by a miserable howl, the galaxy abruptly exploded into countless specks of starlight, which then scattered to the corners of the void and fell. Blood Hand Overlord, who was wrapped by the galaxy, withdrew it without any damage. Then, he smirked and looked at the spot where Comet's body had exploded. The scattered stars that had fallen from the corners of the void began to quickly converge, quickly condensing into a comet. Not only was Comet's face pale and bloodless, but his starry robe was also tattered. It was obvious that he had suffered very serious injuries. Blood Hand Overlord, what do you want? Comet reached out to wipe the remaining blood from the corner of his mouth, and took out a special jade pendant. While holding it tightly in his hand, he asked Blood Hand Overlord with a gloomy face. Leave behind the 3 9x9 demonic condensation pills and the 3 supremacy pills that you just took. Then you can leave. After seeing the special jade pendant in Comet's hand, Blood Hand Overlord's eyes flashed with a trace of fear. Then, he gave a solution. All right. Turning his head to look at Zhou Fengshu and the others, a trace of disappointment flashed across Comet's eyes. In the end, he gritted his teeth and took out the 399 magic condensation pills and 3 demonic transformation pills that he had just obtained. He threw them at Blood Hand Demon Venerable and quickly left the Hengduan mountain range. Zhou Fengshu shook his head helplessly and sighed when he saw Blood Hand's tyrannical gaze. He then took out 2 9x9 devil condensation pills and 2 devil transformation pills that he had obtained with great difficulty and tossed them to Blood Hand. Even the strongest, Zhou Fengshu and Comet Xing, didn't dare to go against the will of Blood Hand Demon Sovereign. The rest of the almighty experts, who were about to be Emperor Wu and peak 9th grade martial revered experts, could only obediently hand over the remaining 99 devil condensation pills and devil transformation pills. Black Lotus, let's go. Blood Hand Demon Sovereign ordered after he tossed the 899 devil condensation pills to the 7th grade Black Lotus and kept the 9 supremacy transformation pills for himself. The black gas quickly condensed into a palm. After receiving the 899 devil condensation pills from Blood Hand Demon Sovereign, the 7th grade Black Lotus quickly followed. You took away the 18 pills that I, Yu Haoran, painstakingly refined. Not only did you not give me any benefits, you didn't even say a word of thanks. Seeing that Blood Hand Demon Sovereign and the 7th grade Black Lotus were about to leave the Hengduan mountain range, Yu Haoran ordered Qin Lingfei to stay where she was with a fierce expression. He then flew into the sky and sneered. Blood Hand Demon Sovereign, aren't you going a little too far? Ga. Hearing Yu Haoran's sarcasm, Blood Hand Demon Sovereign turned his head and threatened with a strange smile. Little guy, seeing that you have successfully refined 999 devil condensation pills, I will spare your life for now. If you dare to speak rudely again, I will directly swallow you alive. Blood Hand Demon Sovereign stuck out his long tongue and licked his lip. This made Qin Lingfei, who was standing at the edge of the mountain range, turn pale. Haha! Facing Blood Hand Demon Sovereign's threat, Yu Haoran laughed heartily without any fear. Little guy, what are you laughing at? From Yu Haoran's laughter, Blood Hand Demon Sovereign could clearly feel that he was not afraid of his threat. This made Blood Hand Demon Sovereign very puzzled. Blood Hand Demon Sovereign, I am laughing at your ignorance. After he stopped laughing, Yuhauran sneered with disdain. Little guy, it seems that you are really tired of living. Hearing Yuhauran's sarcasm, the irascible Blood Hand Demon Sovereign roared and stretched out his withered bloody hand, intending to directly capture Yuhauran alive and then swallow him. Blood Hand Demon Venerable, seeing that you are also a formidable figure of the Devil Tao, this Prince Consort will give you one last warning. Facing Blood Hand Demon Sovereign's bloody hand, Yuhauran raised his left hand and pressed his thumb against his middle finger. Never take the risk of snatching a pill that has just been refined by an alchemist. Pa! As soon as the warning fell, the thumb and middle finger intertwined and produced a sound. Boom! Accompanied by the crisp sound of fingers, a deafening roar suddenly came from the grade 7 Black Lotus. With the first roar, the black gas surrounding the grade 7 Black Lotus exploded, revealing the body of the grade 7 Black Lotus. With the second roar, the grade 7 Black Lotus suddenly let out a miserable howl. With the third roar, several cracks appeared on the 7 petals of the grade 7 Black Lotus. Seeing that the grade 7 Black Lotus was instantly injured, Blood Hand Demon Sovereign's expression changed. He hurriedly withdrew the bloody hand that had captured Yuhauran alive and appeared beside the grade 7 Black Lotus in a flash. After sensing the destructive power within the grade 7 Black Lotus, Blood Hand Demon Sovereign stretched out his bloody hand and pressed it against the petals of the lotus. He intended to use his powerful strength to suppress the destructive power within the grade 7 Black Lotus. With the fourth roar, Blood Hand Demon Sovereign's expression changed slightly. With the fifth roar, a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. With the sixth roar, several veins on the grade 7 Black Lotus's bloody hand began to rupture. With the seventh roar, 3 fingers of Blood Hand Demon Sovereign's bloody hand were directly shattered. At this moment, Blood Hand Demon Sovereign finally understood the source of the destructive power within the grade 7 Black Lotus. He hurriedly ordered the grade 7 Black Lotus, "Quickly throw away the remaining 299 Devil Condensation pills." "Master, I have already fused the 99 Devil Condensation pills into my lotus body," the grade 7 Black Lotus replied in horror. After hearing the grade 7 Black Lotus's reply, a trace of ruthlessness flashed in Blood Hand Demon Sovereign's eyes. Without any hesitation, he intended to withdraw his hand and avoid the grade 7 Black Lotus. However, he unexpectedly found that he couldn't leave. This made him extremely terrified. With the eighth roar, Blood Hand Demon Sovereign's bloody hand and one of his arms were blasted into blood-colored powder. Chapter 1200. In the void of the Hengduan mountain range. Thaling performed the possession technique at once. Yuhauran's expression changed slightly when he sensed that the Blood Hand Demon Venerable was only seriously injured in the black gas formed by the explosion of the 7th grade Black Lotus, and was not really dead. Then, he immediately ordered Thaling in his sea of consciousness. Without any hesitation, the pagoda spirit quickly used the possession technique and quickly reminded Linley. Yuhauran, the reason why the Blood Hand Demon Venerable could survive the explosion of the 9x9 demonic pill is that his physical body has reached the peak of 9th grade Martial Venerable. Therefore, the laws of time's mark are unable to break down and evolve his body. Only the laws of flourishing end can completely destroy him. I see. After replying to Thaling, Yuhauran stepped closer to the Blood Hand Demon Venerable, who was shrouded in the black gas. Seeing Yuhauran quickly approaching, Zhou Fengxiu and the others subconsciously took a few steps back with fear in their eyes. Zhou Qianni, who had been sent thousands of miles away by Zhou Fengxiu, had a hint of interest in her eyes. Stopping 30 meters away from the Blood Hand Demon Venerable, Yu Haoran slowly raised his arm and quietly waited for the black gas to disperse. A breeze suddenly swept through the void and blew away the black gas that had lost its energy. Zhou Fengxiu and the others could not help but gasp. Because of the explosion of the ninth 9x9 demonic pill, the Bloodhand Demon Venerable had not only lost 2 of his arms and 1 of his legs, but also more than half of his head, revealing the white brain matter in his head. "Boy, you're dead." Although he had lost 2 of his arms and 1 of his legs, and his aura had dropped to the early stage of first-grade Martial Venerable, the Bloodhand Demon Venerable, who was an ambitious and ruthless demon, did not reduce his ferocity in the slightest. "I'll skin you, pull out your tendons, and then send your divine soul to the flame star. I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death." Facing the Bloodhand Demon Venerable's blatant threat, Yu Haoran's expression did not change at all. He stretched out his finger and shouted softly. "Prosperity has come to an end." Then, a power that could ignore the barriers of time and space entered Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's body when he tried to escape. This is a heaven-defying martial skill formed by the fusion of the laws of time and space. Sensing the rapid loss of his life force, Bloodhand Demon Venerable cried out with a pale face. At Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's shout, Zhou Fengxiu and the others involuntarily took a dozen steps back. They then looked at Yu Haoran in horror. Although the power of space law was also very mysterious, there were always traces that could be found. However, it seemed that ever since the ancient times were destroyed, no living being had been able to comprehend and control the power of the law of time. Although Zhou Fengxiu and the others could see that Yu Haoran relied on a special secret technique to display a martial skill that contained the power of the laws of time and space, to be able to do this was enough to show just how monstrous his perception was and how amazing his luck was. Turning his head to look at his great-granddaughter Zhou Qianni, Zhou Fengxiu's eyes showed a trace of desperation. Then, he reached out his hand and sucked Zhou Qianni to his side, telling her not to speak for the time being. Facing Yu Haoran's actions, Zhou Qianni did not resist at the beginning. She obediently stood beside him and stared at Yu Haoran. "Junior, let me go." Although the Quasi-Emperor Wu's cultivation allowed him to break through the 5,000-year lifespan limit of the Martial Saint realm, in order to survive until the laws of the Heavenly Tao were gradually perfected, allowing him to safely break through to the Martial Saint realm and Emperor Wu, or even the Martial God realm, he had used a secret technique of the demonic Tao to consume a lot of his lifespan. Now, he only had less than 1,700 years of lifespan left. After the laws of the Heavenly Tao merged into his body, 100 years of lifespan would be taken away every 3 seconds. Therefore, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign was truly afraid when faced with the rapid loss of his life force. Not only did he admit defeat for the first time in his life, but he was also facing a young man who was not even 20 years old and was only an early-stage 9th-grade martial saint. In the face of Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's surrender, Yu Haoran only looked at him coldly and did not say a word. "Yu Zongshi, Bloodhand, I admit defeat." Seeing Yu Haoran's cold gaze without a trace of emotion, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign immediately realized that he had addressed him incorrectly and hurriedly spoke. However, Yu Haoran's reaction was still cold and silent. "Yu Zongshi, as long as you are willing to let me live, I, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, am willing to swear on the laws of the Heavenly Tao to serve you for life." Sensing that he only had 700 years of lifespan left, Yu Haoran was still indifferent. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign knew that if he did not show enough sincerity, he would not be able to get Yu Haoran to take back the laws of the Heavenly Tao. Therefore, he could only sacrifice his future freedom in exchange for less than 700 years of lifespan. He. In the face of Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's promise to become a slave in exchange for his life, Yu Haoran couldn't help but sneer. One of the 10 great secret arts of the demonic Tao, the grafting demonic art. Not only can it fuse the divine soul, but it is also one of the few special arts that can transfer oaths of the Heavenly Tao. Hearing Yu Haoran directly point out the sinister intentions behind his promise, Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's expression changed. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, give up completely. Today you will undoubtedly die. Seeing the change in Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's expression, Yu Haoran's eyes immediately flashed with thick killing intent and gave him the final judgment of his fate. However, when he saw the despair in Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's eyes and recalled that in his previous life, he had also been unwittingly saved by an expert of the Blood Demon sect. In the end, Yu Haoran sighed and spoke in a gentle tone. Bloodhand Demon Sovereign, seeing that you were once a giant of the demonic Tao, before you die, I can do my best to answer the questions in your heart so that you can finally die in peace. Raising his head to look at Yu Haoran, whose attitude had suddenly become gentle, the despair in Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's eyes dissipated and he completely recovered his ambitious and ruthless character. He sat cross-legged on one knee in the void and then asked the questions that had accumulated in his heart. Yu Zongshi, when Black Lotus used the method of dividing his soul to change the quality and grade of the 7 lives profound gate pill, you once said this to these pieces of trash. In the face of Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's evaluation of trash, although Zhou Fengshu and the others' eyes flashed with strong dissatisfaction, none of them dared to stand out and refute. This made the disdain in Bloodhand Demon Sovereign's eyes even thicker. Then, he continued speaking. If it can be used together with a rank 3 first-rank demonic transformation pill, it can also increase the cultivation of a martial venerable. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.